What is up, everyone? What is up? How's it going? Happy Thursday to everyone out there. What's everyone up to? I'm waiting for some caffeine to hit my body personally. It's been a long day. Went to work and then went to clean up the yard with a friend. Got an umbrella up. You know, the kind you have to load up with sand and everything. So, hooray! Adulthood! We have to take care of a house. You know, everyone is like, I want to be a homeowner, and then you get to be a homeowner, and you're like, man, home ownership sucks. But yeah, it's been a pretty long day. Bit productive. At least we finally got the artifacting started inside of my job. Been a process, so finally I feel like I'm doing something after I've started that job a month and a half later. Are there any travel roles in cybersecurity besides sales? Generally, no. Cybersecurity generally doesn't require much in the way of travel outside of being sent for conferences. So I got a new toy as part of the new gear for DEF CON season. This is my new Meshtastic device, and based on the specs of this, I'm gonna like this a lot more. You know what? I should have brought down the other Meshtastic device. Give me like 2 seconds to grab it from my backpack. I take it with me to work every day. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Alright. Should have brought this before. This is your brain without caffeine. Alright. Called in sick. I'm just tired. Just wanted to chill and watch your stream. Hey. We've all need those days where we just are like, hey, F everybody, F everything. I just need to chill. So, this is my daily Meshtastic device. This is a LilyGo T-Go over here. T-Deck. And it's a nice little device. You can actually use this as a standalone device where you don't have to connect it to your phone, but I generally do. Is this charging? Yeah, it's charging. The problem with it is, while it's a great device, the ESP32 uses a lot of power compared to a lot of the other devices. So generally speaking, when this is in Bluetooth mode as this is right now, it will last about a day on a full charge, and that's with a 3000 milliamp hour battery. So, I mean, without the phone, with some light use, it's about maybe a day and a half or so. But either way, it's kind of a pain, and I brought it with me to DEF CON last year. Great little device, don't get me wrong, but you end up using it on the phone because you don't want to pull it out of your bag all the time and everything. So that was the downside of that device. Great standalone device, but then you have yeah, so then you have this little guy over here. This is the LilyGo T-Echo. This was the device that I had. This is one of my earliest devices I used. It's nice. It's got a little e-ink screen for the Meshtastic. You plug an antenna in here. It originally came with the stubby antenna, and I put a better antenna in. This uses, I forget what the chip is, it's like an NRF something. I'll have to look up the specs, but this generally could last about a day and a half, 2 days or so. It is designed to work over Bluetooth, and it only has an 850 milliamp hour battery. So a day to 2 days, pretty good, nice little device, and I would recommend these to a lot of people. But now, they got this guy over here. And what this is, the LilyGo T Echo Plus. So it's more or less the same as the other guy, but it's got a much bigger battery. Otherwise, the components are basically the same in here. It's got a bigger battery, thicker chassis, as you can see. It's got what looks like some mount points over here. You have the 2 screws in the back, and then you have that. And then it has a little carabiner hook over here, which is perfect, so you can put that on your bag. This is a 2400 milliamp hour battery. So this has about 3 times the battery of this. So theoretically, this should last me close to a week or so. So these both have the SX1262 chip, which I think the which I think the T-Deck also has. Do I have a roof node? Well, I have one attached to my fence. I have a solar node that has been working all through winter. What is that? Yeah, it's Meshtastic. Signing off to watch the plastic detox on Netflix. What? Best anecdote to use on a customer that does not care about backing up their M365 world. Basically, you turn it around as a cost loss, a cost issue. For example, how much is it going to cost you to restore all your data? How much is it going to impact your revenue operations? Cool. Now imagine all that's gone. That's your daily cost for not having that data or something like that. I don't understand why people don't see the value in backing up Microsoft 365. The problem is, a lot of times you can talk to them until you're blue in the face, but a lot of people are so stupid, they have to go through a major disaster before they actually have reality smack them. That's the unfortunate reality. I've gone through that so many times in my managed service provider life, where you know the risks, you explain until you're blue in the face about the risks, and you can't do anything until the actual issue happens, and then suddenly, bam. So, yeah, we got the LilyGo T Echo here, the T Echo Plus. This wasn't too expensive. I think this was like $70 with shipping. Now, it does come with this antenna, but I don't trust antennas in the way that, well, I don't care how good you say they are. Prove it to me, baby. So this is my Nano VNA. This is a vector network analyzer. And what this will help us do, once it turns on, the hell? I just had it working before. There we go. So what this will do is tell us the standing wave ratio of an antenna. You want a standing wave ratio as close to 1 as possible. Let me... Okay, so we want the start range. Let's start at 800 megahertz over here. And we will set the stop range. Well, let's just do 1 gigahertz. This can do a very, very wide range, like down to kilohertz to gigahertz. All right, so what we do here is we plug this guy in, and you should start to see, there we go, the standing wave ratio. And do you see how out of whack that is? Okay? Do you see how out of whack that is? Do you see how high that is? That's like off the chart. This isn't bad. This is Epstein Island bad on an antenna, okay? That's the stock LilyGo antenna. So, for a funny thing was I bought another antenna because I'm like, you know what? This is an all-black device. I kind of have a black and yellow theme for a lot of things going. So, let's get another antenna here just to change the color up. And these were both supposedly 915 megahertz tuned antennas, all right? So, we're going to plug this in. Do you see that standing wave ratio and how much better that is? Okay? So, do you see that standing wave ratio? So, I'm gonna bring this all the way down to... We're targeting 915 megahertz. Do you see that's like at about a 1.2? You want it as close to 1 as possible. A perfect 1 is very, very extremely hard to get, but it's an efficiency in the, I want to say like 95 to 98% if I'm not mistaken on the math there. So, the one thing I will definitely say, if you do get the LilyGo T Echo, don't use their antenna. I will, when I eventually try to make a video, include a link to this specific antenna. But this was only like a $8 antenna. So, the interesting thing is, when you look at both of the antennas, because these are supposed to both be for 915 megahertz. So, initially, when I looked at the antenna, I was like, hey, that looks like it's alright. Where's the other antenna? You know, like, if you look at the surface, they both have about the same length, maybe like a millimeter or so difference. Not enough that it should make a difference. So I wonder if there was an issue with the manufacturing of the antenna itself, or there's something else going on. Either way, that one I can't recommend. Just for kicks and giggles, I could try this one over here that's also 915 megahertz, but I think you get the point. And if you're curious, you can do that with all sorts of antennas. So I'd have to find the adapter that I have for that. But if you look at my VNA device, I have all sorts of adapters under here. Now, you do have to calibrate a vector network analyzer. So, like you can see, I had my SO259, no, SO239, PL259, or however that goes. These are the connectors for my ham radio antennas outside. So, I use those adapters when I was testing them out. There's, you know, all sorts of different caps and adapters in here as well, so you can replicate a short, everything that you need to do to calibrate your antenna. So OEM is garbage, always get aftermarket. It depends. It depends. But in this case, yes, it is garbage. So the antenna there definitely needs improvement, but I wasn't planning to use that antenna anyway, because I was like, you know, this is going to be kind of nice to at least have a black device here. I think it looks like a nice little device and I can see it stand out. How do I get into IT for my first job? You have to apply for a job that's willing to take you. Whether it's help desk, junior admin, things like that. Having experience also helps a lot. But yeah, I do have a roof note. Are you doing a bug bounty? No, I'm doing radio. Video killed the radio star. Video killed the radio star. Okay. What's a good backup drive to use prior to installing Linux? My backup just died. So, you can do a couple of things. Of course, you can use, you know, the traditional, hey, here's a flash drive, here's an SSD drive, like a Samsung T5, T7, whatever. But there's a software I use called BlinkDisk. Yes, I am affiliated with them, but it's an open source software, so you don't have to buy anything, technically. But you can use their cloud backup system. But you can also do what I do, which is I use their software, BlinkDisk. And I have it backed up to not only my NAS locally, but you can also back it up to an S3 bucket. So, like, Wasabi, S3 buckets are like $6 a terabyte a month. So you can store as much data as you need there, and their software works on Mac, Windows, and Linux, so you can easily, you know, bring it over and then just restore the key that you use to access it and everything. So that is a possibility. Of course, that is a little bit potentially more involved, so, and it will take a little bit longer because you're going over the internet, but you can, you know, use a NAS, QNAP, things like that. You can use an SSD, USB. It's just a matter of what's the best choice for you. Which one is better, web developer or cybersecurity? I can't really say one's better than the other because you need both. It's more of a what appeals to you. As a normal person, a weekend downtime could be $400 lost for a single contract. Multiply that by millions of transactions for a business. Makes sense. What's up, dude? You found me again. Well, then, you know, if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. If you like it, Is this Raspberry based? No, this is not a Raspberry Pi based. This is something totally different. This is... What chip is this using? Hold on. LilyGo T Echo Plus. So this is... So this comes in various frequencies. If you're in Europe, you'll want to get the 868 megahertz. If you're in the US, you're going to want the 915 megahertz version. It's got a 2400 milliamp battery. The original T Echo is 850. Thank you for the follow, Shreddy Mercury. But this has an NRF 52840 is what it's powered by, with 2 megabytes of flash, 2 megabytes of RAM. You've got UART, SPI, TWI, PDM, 12S, and QSPI bus interfaces if you want. It's also got the SX1262 LoRa transceiver chip. Like I was saying, it's got an e-ink display. But the thing I like about e-ink is that it really doesn't use that much power at all unless it's changing. But it's a nice little device. It even does have GPS in there. So you can get your GPS position, things like that. This one does not have the pressure sensor and, you know, whether little chip they had on the T Echo. But that's fine, but as you can see, it's like $65 plus shipping. It took about a week for it to get to me from China. But it's got GPS, GLONASS, Baidu, and QZSS for global positioning. Now, to get this flashed... we're gonna need a cable. Wait, do I have a cable plugged in here? I should. Yeah. Alright. So this doesn't have the Meshtastic firmware. It's there's a little plug here. We gotta flash the Meshtastic firmware. So I haven't used this guy yet, so it should plug in and something should light up. Okay, let me see. Is there something to do here? They don't really have a manual with this guy. It just says sleep on here, but it's not even powered. So I'm just curious if... Ah! It's the keyboard. Or the cable. So now it's booting. What do you think of age verification in Linux? Thinking of reading it. I'm not a proponent of age verification, period. So, it sucks, but it's happening. Okay, so, we can see over here, it's got a T-Echo self-test when you turn it on. the screen's kind of whiting it out so you can't see. But it's saying, you know, pass on all the devices, GPS, SX1262, Flash, PCF 8563. The BME 280 is getting a fail, but that's because it doesn't have a BME 280. That's the weather pressure sensor I was telling you all about. So let me get a different cable over here in the Boxo random cable. Okay, maybe straight USB to C. That cable may just have been one of the ones that is on power only. That was in the keyboard. That's not a USB A cord unless you know you try plugging it in 3 times and then it fails. Okay, yeah, this cable's working now. Okay, and I heard it turn on a device, which means we may be seeing another device plugged in. Nope, that's secondary NVMe, but I did hear it like do the ping, like it saw a device happen. Alright, so we're gonna open a new tab over here from my Chromium browser. And we're gonna go to meshtastic.org. They have the flasher right there. You can also do this locally, but the web flasher is a lot easier. So we got to find our device. See, LilyGo T Echo Plus. You don't want to generally put the alpha versions. Those are under test. The beta ones, it's kind of funny they call it stable or beta. Okay. Okay, so we have to trigger DFU manually by double-clicking RST button. Okay, we have to connect it over web serial. Okay, which button's the reset button? Okay, so I heard it do the ping. There we go. T Echo under web serial. Well, it said it's paired. Okay. Drive. Oh yeah, this is the easy one where you don't have to really flash it. You just have to drop the file in. So we just have to grab that. I'm gonna get this copy. Alright, we dropped the file in. It's doing the thing. Alright, it's giving us a different name. So now we're going to connect into the device, as we can see. Okay, formatting, done. Oh, come on. Well, that was the NF erase. Gonna have to figure this out. All right. Alright, let's see. We're trying to get that. Erase flash. So... let's try that again. That was the one thing I forgot why this kind of annoyed me. But I think we can, worst case, just plug it in and do it directly over serial that way. Wait, did I do the thing already? I mean, it looks like it's processing something on the screen. Sometimes you have to hold boot. Oh, come on. Like feeling like the cheat code from Contra. Okay, so hold up. We're gonna copy this into here. Yep, and then it reads off that, processes it, and then it's supposed to do something. Could be USB cable. Could be. Got a few of them. Okay, so it does show something there. It is connecting. That's what I hate about ESP32 flashing. Well, it's not even an ESP32, it's this NRF. LilyGo T Echo plus mesh testing flashing. Okay, hold on. Let's grab another cable here. This anchor should be good. What's my distro? Pop OS. Okay, come on. Okay, so it's powered on. Do we have anything happening in the system? All right, let's try this again. T Echo plus. Okay, cool. So we have that. And then we're going to need to drop the file back in. Open serial monitor. Okay, rebooting device into DFU mode. I feel like there's a step that it's missing. Hold up, where am I supposed to grab the firmware though? There's normally a flash button here. Hold up. Let me see. Downloads. Go to Flasher. Okay, yeah, it's a drag and drop. Download stable. Yeah. Firmware. I mean, that makes sense over here. Okay, so we got the bunch of files. Alright, let's see. Firmware. T Echo. Is it just a T Echo? So is it just the battery is different, I guess? Okay, so I'm curious if I... That's what I thought. There is a flash button that shows up here. That is weird. Do they have like a bug going on, I guess? Yeah, because this button wasn't here before. Okay, so we've got that. And then I'm curious if by putting this on, just the regular T Echo, what's gonna happen? Sorry, I'm not trying to ignore chat. I just got, you know, deep in a rabbit hole. There we go. I was like, it's taking an awfully long time. Hey, there we go. It's got a Mesh-tastic screen up there. So that's progress. Press a button to continue. Oh yeah, the bottom's a reboot button. So there's only 3 buttons. That's what I thought. There's only 3 buttons here. One's the reset. One's that. Now I'm curious. I'm sorry, was somebody asking about the device? Ready about the flash on stream. Oh, we're trying to flash my new little Mesh-tastic device that I'm hoping to become my new daily driver. So we'll open up the Mesh-tastic app on my phone. Actually, you know what? We can probably... use Web Serial over here. And let's see. Downloads, web flasher, apps, web. Okay. Okay. So it is seeing the device, but we have to... So a lot of people, when they first get their device, don't know you have to do this. You have to set your region. You're allowed to drop links. Yeah. As long as they're not obviously spammy. Okay, now that should reboot the device. Yep, it's rebooting right now. So that's a weird thing. I had to flash it, clear it out with the T-Echo Plus firmware, but it just uses the T-Echo firmware. And it kind of makes sense, because this basically is the same device with a new shell and a bigger battery. Okay, so now... Now, let's see if we can see it on my phone over Bluetooth. So I could see the other device. Okay, hold on. How do I remove this guy over here? Let's turn that off. Welcome to the wonderful world of tinkering, where shit doesn't work the way you want. Okay. Yeah, let's connect to the new radio. Oh, it displayed the Bluetooth pairing code. So on the e-ink screen, you can see a 6-digit code for Bluetooth pairing that should be randomized. So this is promising so far. Alright, now it should see 2 Meshtastic devices around here. Well, 3 Meshtastic devices. It should see 3 different ones, at the very least in this basement. It probably will see more, because... Is this one on? No, this one. So it should at least see 2. It may see my outside node, and if it sees my outside node, then it should be able to see everything within the next, like, 15-20 miles of here. So we are on firmware 2.7.15. Yep. She's working. It's definitely downloading data. Okay, yeah, it is seeing this device right here. I'm not showing the screen because it's showing some other devices that would give away my location, but it's showing this device right here on the Meshtastic. So that Meshtastic device is in fact set up, so we can call that a success. Now what I need to do is change the name. So it has a long name and a short name. And I'm just going to program those in. And that's going to reboot the device again, because it's going to give it a name. By the way, the Android app is always a little bit further ahead than the iOS app, so sometimes I will use my Android phone just for that. But overall, I like the feel of this a little bit more than the old T Echo over here. This is the I'll plug that for a sec. This is the original T Echo that I had. And it's a good device, don't get me wrong. It's just that, well, I didn't like the fact that the battery couldn't last as long, and I wanted to give a try of a full dedicated device, because this device has a keyboard, and you can use it as like an individual BlackBerry, but the issue with it is that device only lasts about a day, whereas even this guy with like 1/4, about 1/4 the battery power of that would last a day and a half or more, but you do need to use Bluetooth for this. So we at least have this device over here. Now, the one thing I did notice is the display is not showing nodes that are nearby like the one over here did. So have to figure that out. But I could turn that one off at the very least. I'll turn that off. But yeah. So I think it's a nice little device. I just have to tinker around with it a little bit more. It's on the 2.7.15 firmware, so I don't know if there may be a bug in that, but then again, we also grabbed the LilyGo T Echo firmware, and I don't think there's any difference between the T Echo and the T Echo Plus, besides a battery, to my understanding. And the carabiner and the shell. So let me check that for a second. Let's try to flash good, you don't get wrong or racing. Alright, so that did work for that. I'm gonna try wiping it again to see if I can get that working the way we wanted before, so we know the... There we are! So it's weird because... Oh, no, that's the T Echo. So we want the T Echo Plus. Alright, so we got the eraser. And then begin flashing. But it never goes beyond that. It just... We know the cable works because I got it going. Gonna have to tinker with that probably. Worst case, we can go into the content and I can play with that a little bit more. So let's see, out of curiosity. No, it's the same exact file each time, just to erase it. I wonder, can Claude figure out what's going on? Let's get lazy. Alright, let's see. Oh, I also heard they have, like, Claude Opus 4.7 now. Good God, 7.5 requests? Yeesh. I've been hearing mixed results on that, too. Should try Meshcore. The problem is Meshcore is not that popular in the US. At least the parts that I'm in. What are your thoughts on Hacker AI? Not familiar with it, but if it is what I think it is, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to come out with different technologies and tools and everything like that for us to improve our skill sets and everything. I'm gonna have to tinker with this. I wish I had Wish Meshcore, not a node to be found. Yep, I tried playing with it, didn't find a damn node. That's the issue. Like, you get all these people that are like, oh, you should do Meshcore, you should do that. And I'm like, I'm using what I know people are on. It's like the same argument as, like, the people that come into my chat and then, will... the people that come into my chat and are like, excuse me, I thought I had to burp. Apparently I did, but anyway, you know, like, it's one of those things, like, yeah, I want to use Meshcore, I want to use a lot of different technologies, but then people are like, yeah, this is better, or, you know, you have the people that come in my chat, and there's like, they're like, well, you should stop using Signal, use Session, use whatever other chat app, and I'm like, here's the problem. It's hard enough to get people to go and use Signal, and it's objectively better than WhatsApp, and most people are still on WhatsApp. The people that are on Signal are generally more of the cybersecurity people, and when you go to DEF CON, that's the app they use. Even when you go to DEF CON, I'd have to say there's only like maybe 60-70% of the people I run into that actually use Signal there. The number of people using Session and all these other chat platforms that everybody says is better or whatever is even less than that. Case in point, I like Matrix. I run my own Matrix server. We have somewhere around like 1,200 people in a Discord server, but we only have a little bit more than 100 people in the Matrix server. At the same time, you go out into DEF CON and such as that, and you'll find even fewer people are on Matrix, to the point, I'd have to say it's like closer to the 10 to 15% of people I'd run into at DEF CON had a Matrix account and would communicate on there. It's the same problem as anything. It's like, you know, oh yeah, we have this better technology. Cool. But do you have users? You can have inherently the better technology, but if there's nobody there, nobody fucking cares. That's the unfortunate reality when it comes to things. Is Wasabi a good cloud storage chief for personal work stuff? I think it is. Of course, you're going to want to encrypt your data and everything. Blinkdisk does that out the box. I think it's a pretty good system. It's also a lot cheaper than Amazon S3. Amazon S3 costs a lot, and they don't nickel and dime you on ingress and egress like AWS and other providers do. Backblaze is another one that people like to use, and things like that. Althea was looking promising. BitChat too. Physical infrastructure needed pretty quick. Agents are humans. But yeah, you guys ever hear of Reticulum? Do you consider that one? So Reticulum's a little bit different. So Reticulum is not radio specific. Reticulum is more of a protocol that can run on a lot of different technologies. So that one I actually do like, and it does have use cases. But you can run Reticulum, as I understand it, over LoRa, over Wi-Fi, over, you know, a lot of different connections. It's just a protocol on top of things. That makes sense? Yeah, it's great. Matrix is underrated, but there's very little streamlining with management tools. Well, it's also a very immature platform in comparison to, say, like, Discord and a lot of the other messenger apps. Gonna try out Reticulum Arno to test internet. Yeah, Reticulum is one of those things I need to do. Hell, even right over here in this box that I've been meaning to set up for but close to a year, there's another Meshtastic device in here with a LilyGo T-Beam Supreme. Every time I say that, it sounds funny to say T-Beam Supreme. Anyway, I have that there with a Raspberry Pi in the box so that it can actually be an MQTT node that I'm going to put upstairs running over PoE. I'm just going to inject it through the rack to it. So that way I can power the entire thing. And the idea being, because the next hop over can be my solar node, anyone in the area should be able to connect to MQTT through it. T-Bean Supreme Burrito. Yep. T-Bean Supreme with fries. I think the non-Supreme. You have a Team Beam? Okay. That sounds like it should be a fast food menu item. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so... this is a... Yeah, Reticulum is a KISS protocol. It pretty much is, and it can fix a lot of its own stuff any way it needs to go. Alright, let's see. Let's see if I can get the NRF chip here. You know, that's the debug. That's not what I meant to get. I need the firmware for NRF. Okay, so let's see. We have the... Love the fact that I can find slow internet and fast, yeah. Ah, take the QTT pound, please. I wonder if it didn't like that ink HUD. Okay, it's checking GitHub right now, and I have Claude scouring to figure out what happened. Because it's weird, it'll work with the T-beam thing, but it won't, Okay, let's see, docs, hardware, devices, They don't even have their documentation updated for the T-Echo Plus. Okay, T-Echo Plus was merged via PR. Okay, so it was... I'm gonna have to grab an alpha firmware. That's what I think is gonna happen. Yeah, so it's in 2.722 alpha. Yep, the button just appeared. Okay. That was the issue. It apparently does need an alpha. Because if you go to the betas, it won't even appear. Gotcha. Oh, and then of course, yeah, there's an error on their site. They have a bug, I think, somewhere. Because it's not grabbing the right device. Alright. Flash. Enhancements, bug fixes. Okay, so now... Alright, Claude's over here telling me to do something else. Okay. I just copied over the factory erase. Okay, so I have the soft device 6.1.1 apparently. Now I gotta wait for it to come back. Baby, come back. You can blame it all on me. Okay, it hasn't come back yet. Okay, so looking at the notes, support for this wasn't added till 2.7.18, so all the latest alpha versions should have it. Okay, that's making more sense. Also, people just stand up against my e-bike talking like people do with cars. Wait, what? I want to set a particulum node with LoRa camera on my e-bike to watch it while I'm in the store, so when I get an alert on the phone with from the window blowing against the e-bike, I can check the camera to make sure I'm not wasting my time. Makes sense. What do I think of Try Hack Me? I just subscribed and I'm passing my SOC Analyst L1 certification. I think it's alright. I haven't personally used them myself. I've always made my own labs. But some people really like it. If it works for you, it works, but the one thing I will stress is that it's definitely in a more, what you call it? Sterile environment that's controlled. So bear in mind, a lot of the stuff going on there may not necessarily translate into the field when it comes time for that. Oh yeah, and thank you for the follow. Or thank you for the the Prime subscription there, Polymathic Man. First time sub, appreciate you. Don't know why the alert didn't go off. What the shit? That's weird. Huh. Didn't even alert me or anything. That's weird. Did Chief break something with all the tinkering? It's possible. Breaking is always a possibility. Right now on the other screen, I have Claude going through a bunch of stuff. I'm just not showing it because it's showing some sensitive stuff every now and then. Okay, so it is seeing the NRF. Okay, so I need to double tap the reset button. There we go. Had to press the rat button. Okay, Techo is booted. Okay, now flashing the firmware. So it's interesting that it'll actually work with the T-Echo firmware in a beta, which means the hardware's not that much different. Okay, we're copying the firmware over from 2.7.22 to this. There we go. All right, it cleared. There we go. That's looking a little bit better. That's what we wanted to see. Now we have a working screen. It's a little bright for y'all to see, so let me see if I can get that. Bullet focus. Okay, you can't really see it because the screen it's actually really nice. Very legible for me to see, but the camera's not picking it up. There is a little ink HUD screen here. Okay, hold up. I can show that now. So you can actually see meshtastic.org, and then of course it's power cycling right now with that. It's only got 30% power. That should be fine for what we need right now. Yeah, so it's basically just guiding me to go through the menu. Wait, did they reverse the buttons that the top is now the reset? Yep, they did that. They did reverse it. So you can see there's a menu here, and then it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, so we would have to long press. Oh, you can actually set your menu, all the stuff up from here so you don't need your phone anymore. That's nice. Oh, the annoying thing is, the menu is kind of limited, but you only have like 3 buttons on this device. You have one over there that's, capacitive little button at the top, then you have the 2 side buttons, and if you press the one, it just resets the device. And I, of course, scrolled right past US, so now I gotta cycle through all the different regions in here. God damn it. I didn't even do that right. Alright. So we're just gonna use web serial to connect in and get that set up. Okay, so they need to update their documentation because it doesn't even mention the T-Echo Plus, and you're going to need to use at least 2.7.1... What was it that said in the notes? 2.7.18, so you're going to have to be using the alpha. So I loaded the latest alpha of 2.7.22, which should be fine. So the cable was fine. Alright, so now let's connect to this device over here. Alright, it is seeing the firmware. That's great. We'll get that set to US. I'm gonna bump the hops to 4. We are on long fast. Frequency slot of 0. Well, you can set the frequency offset. There's a lot more settings in the web serial app than I'm used to. What is that? This is a LilyGo T-Echo Plus. This is a Meshtastic device, and Meshtastic is decentralized mesh communications. So you don't even need the internet for this to work. Okay. And we don't see any satellites because we are in the basement right now, which makes sense. So... ad blocking on Twitch is weird, not gonna lie, super inconsistent with how many it is I get. Yeah. Twitch should be kind of weird with that stuff. Alright, Meshtastic, frequency, slot, US. I think it's slot 20. Okay, for most users, leaving the slot at 0 default, but I'm not seeing any of my devices. Alright, let's go back to the Meshtastic web over here. Oh yeah, you can request the position out of it, that's nice. Alright, so let's delete this, add this connection, serial, select port. Alright, so let's get the settings, US. Alright, we're gonna save the name to it. That should hopefully wake some stuff up. It's rebooting right now. See you later, Tech Chips. Thanks for hanging out. We're gonna get into content in a little bit to start reviewing some stuff. I still gotta tinker with this device. Overall, I think it's a pretty solid, you know, spec-wise. It's just that, little thing kind of threw me through a loop. Alright. Alright, so now let's try connecting again to Meshtastic. Connect. Alright, gotta repair it. Using that Bluetooth pin code it's spitting out. Okay, so we are connected. Okay, so let's try just sending a simple text for testing. Oh, it probably helps if my devices are on. Okay, it's working. So it may just take some time for it to start seeing other nodes. But I do need to clear out. Okay, so it is seeing that. Oh, it's got a tax server option in there. Nice. App settings. Clear stale nodes. Wait, no, let's clear. Let's erase all the app data. Alright, we're reconnecting. Yeah, so it's working. We're seeing things. I may just need to let that run for a little while. No, okay. It's seeing my two different Chief Geek 3D nodes. The solar node very rarely pipes up, so it may just take some time. Like, it doesn't do a keep alive that often. It's one of the power saving things I put in there. So I think it chirps maybe every 15 or 20 minutes or so. But yeah, this device is working. There we go. Yep. Yep, okay. We have a success over here. So if we look at the screen over here, I don't know if it's going to focus. You can see we have one device that it's seeing, at least. So it is seeing things. You can see the channel utilization is being used. It's transmitting with the blue over there. It's been up for about 4 minutes. You can see the battery life, everything on this little guy over here. So it's not a bad little device. It's just, I'm gonna have to play around with it some more, learn about it. It's saying it's at 55% battery life right now. So I guess it charges relatively quick. Well, that makes sense. I mean, it may be 2400 milliamp hour, so it's big and beefy, but it sips power compared to other devices. So in theory, this should last quite a while. Oh, and that GUI is kind of nice. Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. So if you press the button, you can actually see the messages on screen. So you can see test, test from my other devices. So it is actually picking it up. You can see the nodes that were last heard over here. So there's only one node right now that it's, you know, heard from, because it messaged it. It'll even tell you your hops to signal, the distance if, you know, this device had GPS on. It could even tell you bearings. Oh, and it can even tell you your GPS position, so that might be useful if you're out and about. Of course, I'm in the basement right now, so there is no GPS lock. We can see that right now it is on US long fast of a frequency of 906.875 megahertz. Gives you the version, tells you if a client's connected. You have your time over here. Obviously, I'm gonna have to fix that. But yeah, I think it's all right. The ink HUD, I mean, it can only do so much with like 3 buttons, and it looks like one of them hasn't even really been enabled, or there may be an error. Because normally with the regular T Echo, you're able to tap the top and then, like, see? Like you wanted a light, you just press the button, whereas that might be just a limitation or a thing they're going to have to work out because they just added it recently. But I think this is a nice little upgrade from this little T Echo over here. Now, as we can see, the SWR is much better with this antenna than the other antenna, so don't use your stock antenna that they have, as far as I know. If anyone else happens to do a vector network analysis on their antennas, of course, you know, please share your findings. But I think this is a nice inexpensive mesh-tastic device for anyone that wants to do comms. 2400 milliamp hour, that can probably give you close to a week without having to charge this, so great for camping. Don't know about the water resistance around it, but they did add like little some plugs over here. So there is like a plug over here for what looks like some, like a JTAG header or something. So if you pull this off over here, you can find there's a little JTAG header right there. So you might be able to do some programming or, you know, attach some sensors or something. That's not really my forte, but it is nice to know that that's there. It is also on the original LilyGo T Echo, but the Echo, you had this little piece right here you would have to knock out to access it. Now the T-Echo actually gives you the diagrams of the stuff that's going on there, whereas this just has like a little rubber pad there. But I do like this addition of the carabiner that they've done. It looks like there's also a way to like mount this, so like I don't know what the threading is for this, but that could be useful. It definitely looks like it's threaded in there. So you could maybe mount this on like a bike. You're going biking, attach that to the bike. Backpack, you can just clip it to your carabiner, your belt. So that should be good. But like I said, the only issue I've had so far was the lack of documentation they had for figuring this out. We had to do a little bit of troubleshooting, as we saw, to get this working. But now it's a matter of I'm going to test this out for the next week or two. I'll be in the office mid next week, so I'll have some better data, because I did find there's quite a few Meshtastic users and nodes on that side of town, so that should be useful, because I was picking up chats while I'm sitting in the office, and that should give me a better understanding of the life, the capability, everything there. But so far, we at least got our initial impressions. Like I said, got the antenna because I was like, hey, a yellow antenna on a black case kind of looks nice. And it ended up being the better choice because that antenna had an SWR over 3, which was just best no bueno. And this antenna, cheapy little $9 antenna, came out to an SWR of about 1.2. So we're great. How do you know if you reach the limits of passkeys in YubiKey, Chief? I think they have a tool. They have a what you call it? An application for that. Are you advertising from the TikTok shop? Something from the TikTok shop now? No, this is not from the TikTok shop. I will have an Amazon link for this when I make the YouTube video. This was purely me just tinkering with my own devices, and you know, look, I've got the T-Echo over here. I've got the SenseCap T1000E. I slipped these in my dog's vests. They have GPS in here, so they're great, and they're a little bit more rugged, so they're okay with my dogs when I go hiking. Haven't done that in a while, but yeah. And then I have the LilyGo T-Deck over here. If you haven't noticed, almost all my devices are LilyGo, but we do have some Heltec V3s over here if you wanted to DIY your own. So you can like 3D print a case, find a battery, attach it to one of these little guys. Admittedly, these are nice little entry boards, but they're not the greatest. We want to get a good antenna and everything. For one of the upcoming projects, we got this stuff over here, which is going to be a Raspberry Pi over here, although I'm probably going to move this to a 3B Plus because it seems a little bit wasteful for a Pi 4 for this project over here. Huh, there's an NVMe over here. 256 gigabyte. I ain't going to need that for this project. So you go in the drawer. But this over here, I have all the stuff that I'm going to need for MQTT node. So this is going to be using the LilyGo T-Beam Supreme, which is this little guy over here. I do need to pick up an 18650 battery cell. I may have some laying around, but I mean, it's not that expensive. So this is the LilyGo T-Beam Supreme. It sounds so fun to just say that. T-Beam Supreme. Sounds like I need to go to Taco Bell and order this. Okay, where's the remote? I just had that remote. We just zoomed in the camera. Is it? No. Oy. Of all the things I've lost, I miss my mind the most. But yeah, so we have the LilyGo T-Beam Supreme over here for a future MQTT node. This will be connected to a Raspberry Pi in order for it to connect to the internet for me. Now it does have this antenna over here. Is that, yeah, that's an RPSNA. So I can quickly do a test on this antenna. I'm just curious if I need to buy another antenna. Alright, let's set the stimulus to start at 850 megahertz. And then we will have the stop at 1 gigahertz. Good God! LilyGo, what the hell? This antenna's slightly better, but look at that standing wave ratio. Oh, it's close to the mic. It was a little bit lower. I think that's because it's... Hold up. Oh yeah, it's getting the signal from here. But look at that. That standing wave ratio. That's too high. Their antennas are just not that good. This one is sitting around a 2.6. So, definitely gonna have to replace that antenna. That's a good thing to know. It's a good rule of thumb to testing old enterprise HDDs. Usually smart checks can get through quite a bit. So just check the smart status on them, see what it says. That should be able to give you a good estimate of what potential life is left in that device. Okay, so that's the T-Beam Supreme. It also came with a case when I bought this for it. Oh, that's right. This is the antenna. Oh, right. This is the antenna I actually was planning to use. So this antenna is going to be sitting on a disc to help the antenna out. And that should remedy that. But yeah, LilyGo stock antennas, I do not recommend them. So far, every antenna I've tried from them, just not that great. How much do you have to F up an antenna? I wonder if the case is that they may have, like, made one spec and then slap it a sticker on it for different, but... Yeah, we're talking Meshtastic, Aaron. This is the new Meshtastic device. I like this one more for DEF CON. But I'm gonna have to test it out some more. I just got this in today. Okay, so it paused the screen. Oh, that's interesting. So when it sits idle, it'll actually pause the screen. Now, is it supposed to be on 906.875? I was going to suggest we create a private channel in Discord to coordinate frequencies, mesh tasks, notifications, map tracking, and then we can post and publish scheduled makes happier event. Yeah, we definitely can do that. I'm also still waiting for if DEF CON's going to release their official firmware like they did last year, because then they're going to have additional channels and stuff. But if we do have channels, we'll need to let the crew as well know about it. And then pre-share those encryption keys. Was it DEF CON or was it the Meshtastic guys? We met the Meshtastic guys at B-Sides. And then we used the Meshtastic all through DEF CON. But DEF CON... oh, you're talking about who made the firmware? The DEF CON guys made a DEF CON version for DEF CON. That was the one. Yeah, that's what happened. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I got my wires crossed for a second. Meshtastic long fast in USA. Which corresponds to slot 20 within the ISM band. Okay, so... You're rewatching the Matrix trilogy, too goated. I like the first one. Second and third were... yeah, alright. Create the channel, create dependencies for each one. Okay. And then we can plan a confidentiality and dump in early July for publication. That works. Yeah, and the crew, by the way, is looking at having GMRS radios, or at the very least FRS. I told them to go get GMRS, and then we can give them the CTC codes that we'll be using, at least for that, because Pat loved the GMRS because he realized the dead spots that were at LVCC, and he saw the utility in that. So... oh, you're gonna dump Palfang plugs? Okay. Are you gonna do your poor man's repeater again? Like you were talking about?
B.O. Ojiman is now chilling in the lab.
Thank you for the follow, Boogeyman. Okay. Well, I didn't know if we wanted to go with, like, the nice proper GMRS repeaters, because I know you can get some ones that are 50 watts, but they're a chunk of change, as well as, from what I can see, some of them are bulky, so I didn't think we would need anything that big. But only if we have a place to plan and prep. I can have one shipped, but where we put it is a problem. Yeah. We might be able to talk to Pat. He might have some ideas. You know... there is a ham radio village. We might be able to talk to them. Yeah, let's do call center village for that stuff then. What's up, Duarta? I wonder how pissed they'd be if we strung antenna to the rafter. I mean, it's DEF CON. If they're not gonna, if they're not expecting random antennas to be placed anywhere, then what kind of, you know, technology and cybersecurity conference is it? What the hell is a ham radio village? So we're talking about DEF CON planning. So one of the guys in the TikTok chat right now is my IRL friend, and we went to DEF CON together last year, and he and I are both radio people. So we have our amateur radio license. So basically, when you go to DEF CON and a lot of cybersecurity conferences, rather than like say, hey, this is the section, we refer to each area as a village. So it'll be like you go to the red team village, the blue team village, the privacy village, the cryptography village. You go to, the blockchain village. You go to the call center village. You go to the social engineering village, the ham radio village. And then you have like other minority, minor areas too. So, and smaller village, like there is La Villa, which is for Hispanic people in cybersecurity, where they give talks in Spanish or Portuguese. You have BIC, Blacks in Cyber, which is generally focused at the African American Black community. So you'll have people there that are from the Caribbean, that are African American, that are people of color in general, that will do talks there to encourage more people to be introduced. They're the ones last year that made the blacks the Black Panther badges and the White Panther badges. They did those. You also have there's just like something for everything. There's even like the retro hardware village and stuff like that. There's the aerospace village. All of these different technologies and things are talked. Ham radio, usually no likey GMRS. Yeah, true. Now that being said, if we can get 3 for RPIs and Wi-Fi, I can totally create a distributed mesh. I may have a couple of pies we can spare. I have one of my 3B pluses earmarked at least for an MQTT node, but do you need like a 3B plus? Is that enough? Or do we need like a 4 or a 5? I think a 3B plus should be enough. Because if we need a 3B plus one, here, I've got a Rock Pro 64. I've got one. Hold on. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 Raspberry Pi 3B pluses, so 3 of those should be available around DEF CON time, because I'm going to be using one of them for the MQTT node. I also have, we can probably use this too, my Libre Computing Le Potato. So yeah, we have options. And then, I think I have some more around here. No, that should be enough. I'm missing a Rock Pro 64. Yeah, well, needless to say, I've got SBCs if we need. I even got a Pi 0 or 2 over there. We need to remember to leave at least one Meshtastic node in each hotel room to repeat mode or whatever. If we need, I also have these 2 Heltec V3s. I'll also have this LilyGo T Echo spare. I can get this reflashed. But we'll probably want to keep these plugged in, I'm guessing. Just through the con. This one will be with me. I'm not sure I'm going to be bringing this guy, but I can bring it if we need, just to have a repeater. I have one. I'll be using the Rickroll. Are you going to put the, 16 different Wi-Fi access points on, so that way we... Wait, work on that script we talked about last year, that if anyone connects to the free Wi-Fi while we walk around, it can immediately open a web page and Rickroll them. I really want to do that. Last year it was fun to walk around with all the funny Wi-Fi names going around, but now let's try to make them actually connect to it, and then, just immediately Rickroll them. Captive port. Okay, you got it. Oh, you're gonna take the little pocket Wi-Fi one, the little MikroTik guy you had? Oh yeah, I meant to ask you, do you get discounts on MikroTik hardware? Because, down the road when I get my NVIDIA DGX Sparks, I might need to get one of their switches that does QSFP. They have a 4-port 100 gigabit switch. You don't? 32 cheap? Eh. Well, this switch was like $800. Look, a discount's a discount, okay? Go make the Discord and/or make me a mod, and I can start building out the space. I thought you're a mod. You should be a mod. If not, let me hold on, Aaron. A Gustafsson. There we go. Yeah, you're a mod. Give me a sec. I may need to add some permissions. That's what. Hold up. There. You should have roles. Is he talking to a different chat? Oh, I have, I'm on TikTok, Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. One of my buddies is on TikTok right now. Okay. Aaron, you should have rights in the server right now to do whatever you need to do. You're one of the few people I trust to do that kind of stuff. Because you managed the Tech Talk server before, so I ain't worried. Okay, no problem. There's no rush on it. But yeah, I think it'd be great for us to get a space over to collab. I can maybe, as we get closer to the time, set up a reaction role to allow people to have access to the spaces that we set up for different information. And, yeah. What is different of DDR4 and 5? Well, 1. It's a difference of 1. There's a bunch of different little things, like I think it's at lower voltage and, of course, faster transfers, and that's, like, predominantly the main thing. They've added some error correction capabilities, if I'm not mistaken, but it's not true ECC. Create a private one, and then a DEF CON publish one for the React roles. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. We'll chat more about it. Mainly architecture changes with DDR5. Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm understanding too. Alright, so I'm definitely going to tinker with this for a few days. Oh, would you look at that? It actually sees a third node. I'm curious now. I'm curious why the clock is off. Okay, so it's saying 2 nodes are online. It's seeing 2 messages. It sees... I think it's seeing this guy right here. Okay, cool. So I think once it is alive a little bit longer, it'll be catching the node outside. So yeah, that's great. I'll bring that upstairs with me after the stream, have it plugged in at the top of my dresser so that way it gets a better signal. And then in a week or two, we'll probably sit down and set up that MQTT node or start setting it up on stream. That's the one I sent in the drone. Okay, remember warheads on foreheads or warheads on Mashtastic nodes? Random question, what's the first cert you got in IT computers? CISSP. I got that 2 years ago. after being in the field a little more than a decade. And I literally did it because one of my friends, who was a coworker of mine at the time, asked for work to do the CISSP certification, and I said, hey, if y'all are doing that, can I get in on that? And sure enough, they just let me. So we took the classes together, and we passed together, and yeah. What do you think about Claude and Cyber? It's a tool. It's just another tool. I use Claude. I was using Claude just to do some diagnostics for this Meshtastic, maybe before you came on stream, to figure out that why the firmware was not flashing for it, because I was using a stable version, and the latest alpha is what had these, the firmware for this guy in here, so I had to flash that. It helped me diagnose that pretty quickly. You haven't used Claude yet, but you love you some daddy ChatGPT. You would like Claude. Claude is actually way better for technical shit than ChatGPT. Like, ChatGPT actually has legitimately made mistakes. Like, serious noob, amateur level mistakes. I have vibe coded my way into an important-ish role in my company. Am I cooked? No, not really. As long as you, learn your shit, you should be fine. BISSP, let me know if it's Charlie, India, Sierra, Sierra, Papa. Form process and approval flow. Okay. Yeah, we got quite a few people in the Discord that most likely are going to be coming to DEF CON. Like, I think Stabby the Abbey said she's gonna be there. Parrot should be there. My mentor is actually sounding like she'll be coming in too, so it'll be great to see her. And I'm sure there's gonna be quite a few more people that we know of. I think Jest is probably showing up too. So this year we're definitely gonna have to try to do something. Yes, we can do some meetup bits and host any paid events through Zoho if we need to. Okay. Yeah, we'll figure things out. We still got a little bit of time, but the heavy planning stuff is already done. I've got my ticket to B-Sides. I've got my hotels booked. I'm waiting to know about the call center village badge for DEF CON. I might be getting the badge through them. So, we'll know more soon. Worst case, I buy. That's not a big deal. I think Yitz will be coming too. Yeah. So, for the most part, it's just a little bit. Need to make sure I bought B-side. I have everything else. Yeah, go make sure you bought the B-side ticket, because those generally sell out within a few weeks. And I know I damn near almost forgot last year. And I got, I used the B-sides room block for B-sides. Last year, we used it for the entire con, if you remember. I answered that too and said, man, I already paid. Yeah. You're stuck on the other side of the border? Well, that sounds more like an ish you than an ish me. Alright, let's get into the review on stream. We got some content to go over, because we gotta catch up on a lot of this. We've been tinkering, we've been doing things, we've been busy. I'm trying to get a $50 2 terabyte HEDB from FB Marketplace with the best stress test you can think. Check Smart, and then there's, crap, what is it? Like, not Crystal Disk. There's some ways to do a stress test for it. But Smart should be able to give you some idea of, like, how ran through the drive is. How do you catch up when Vampire spams TikTok clips every day? So, well, you don't need to tell Vampire this, but there's a plan to kidnap him and throw them in a closet so they will stop giving me content to go view while I catch up. All right, let's see. And tomorrow I'm probably going to be on stream as well. I love me a good old-fashioned phone.
This is the internet.
The internet?
Yes. Press 1 to connect.
Okay.
Wait. What? Did he make dial-up? Oh. That is nostalgia.
Today, I'm going to...
By the way, that reminds me, back when we had the Tech Talk Discord server, we had a punishment room for the voice chat where we would send people to, as a punishment, if they did something bad while in voice chat, that just continually had a dial-up tone. And that was your penance. We would tell you, like, you must spend 1 minute down in the dial-up chat room.
internet like it's 1999, showing how this...
With that, when I have a chip in my brain that still allows me to access the internet.
Wi-Fi. But how did I do this? And
Well, Vampire, what we didn't tell you was that we put brass mesh all around the closet, so it's a Faraday cage as well.
why did I do this? And could you really just dial 1 to get online? This is the original airport base station, alongside the original Tangerine iBook G3.
She might
This
trying to
was my
lecture me on
aunt's,
some...
and she was...
Are you talking about your mom again? It was ate by a Fisher cat, apparently, that's why. Oh, yeah. Your mom sounds like a... How do I say this without TikTok tripping me? A see you next Tuesday.
the first person I know that had...
Yeah, Dev, you just said it. I can't say that.
Wi-Fi. She could pick up her laptop and stay online up to 150 feet away from that base station. Before I get into how I rebuilt a dial-up ISP with my Raspberry Pi, let me take you back to 1999. Back then, the best wireless communications most people had seen on their laptops was infrared. Yeah, the same tech you use to change channels on a TV. Apple's PowerBooks had these little IR windows, and they used IRDA to transfer data at speeds up to a blazing 4 megabits. And it had a great range, up to like 3 feet. And it slowed with fluorescent lighting, which was most office buildings. So when Steve Jobs rolled out this new 802.11 wireless tech on stage, the crowd erupted.
I'm gonna go to CNN Interactive here and see what's on CNN. There's CNN, you can see. And maybe I'll go to Disney here. You know, I can let's come over here and show you.
So I know y'all like don't understand how big of a deal this was. Back in the day, laptops did not even have Ethernet plugged in. They didn't even have a dial-up, RJ11 jack. They didn't even have Wi-Fi. In many cases, what you had to do was use a PCMCIA card. Let me show you what that is. Hold on. So you used to have to install this in your computer. So you had all these PCMCIA cards here, so you could get ones that acted like, this is ATA flash, that'd be a flash card, so you could get like actual storage there. This was like early SSDs, basically. You get additional cards, like this is FireWire with 400 and 800 over there. But then you needed Ethernet. Okay, here's your 10100 Ethernet card here for your PCMCIA. But then, you need to do, okay, that's interesting. Didn't know they had SATA cards, but I guess that makes sense. You could get your entire serial port there, parallel ports. There were entire wireless cards there, so LAN card bus with extra... That's an interesting connector. never seen that one before. But the point being is that you would have to use these for peripherals, and very often they would have you use this for a wireless card. Now, Orinoco wireless cards were the absolute best wireless cards, hands down. The cool thing about Orinoco was you used to be able to add an external antenna. So these were the preferred cards back in the day of the war drivers. So we used to, you know, plug those into like a laptop. Like I had an IBM X20. I can show you what that was. That was a really great laptop. I wish they would bring those form factors back. But if you look at the IBM X20, let me see if I can... here we go. Wikipedia should have it. I think the X20 was like... Yeah, X20 was like the first laptop they had in the X series. I had the Pentium 3 model, 600 megahertz. And I think mine had... 128, but my dad bumped it to 256 or something like that. It's been a while. But yeah, it came in 800 by 600, but I think my dad, because this was an old company laptop for the MSP that he, you know, ran. He had a 1024 by 768 one. It was a nice laptop. I actually used to game on that and do like all sorts of things. Not by game, I mean like Roller Coaster Tycoon, maybe a little bit of Doom. But it was a really freaking rock solid laptop. But anyway, your PCM-CIA slot was on your left. We had Windows 2000. We'd load up Linux on this guy though. And then you plug in your Orinoco. You plug in the external antenna, drape that outside the window, drive around, and this is back in the day when you had WEP encrypted networks. So you could actually, in a relatively short amount of time, crack those networks, and then my friends and I would use Wi-Fi all across the city, because a lot of people would also use default factory usernames and passwords. So very often, if we saw a Linksys network, we most of the time could get in. I think the password was like admin or whatever like that. I can't remember what the default was for, you know, the Wi-Fi password, but we would be able to get Wi-Fi anywhere we wanted, not just at public coffee shops and things like that. So it was kind of a fun time. Was a lot of the stuff we did legal? No, but I also, you know, learned about social engineering to get free pizza back in the day. I can tell you that tactic. I learned about it from thebroken.org, which was one of the first hacker TV shows prior to YouTube. Kevin Rose actually was in that. That's actually where I learned about Kevin Mitnick. Well, they had one episode. We'll have to rewatch this sometime. Somebody remind me, because I have the videos here in the Infocom drives. But basically, what you can do is you would go into a pizza restaurant. Can't really do this as much anymore because, you know, people don't do it this way anymore. Go in, listen for somebody to make an order, walk out, and then, you know, just kind of come back in, pretend you're that person picking up the pizza or whatever, and, no. You'd walk out, call back in from a payphone or, you know, your buddy's house that's closest into the store, complain about the pizza that you got under so-and-so's name, repeat their order back, and then you could social engineer yourself for like a free pizza. I did that several times a week back in the day. Can't do it as much anymore because people don't do that anymore. Nobody really calls a pizza shop anymore for pizza. Admin, I have a Linksys in my hand. I'm trying to open WRT. Okay. But yeah, you could do a lot back in the day. Yeah. It was a fun Wild West to learn about a lot of things.
That hula hoop wasn't the only gag they pulled off that day. Steve Jobs convinced Phil Schiller to jump like 2 stories and land on a mattress during the keynote to prove the toughness of this iBook.
3, 2, 1, jump!
I forgot about that stunt.
A lot, along with portable computing itself. But this early demo cemented Steve Jobs and Apple as the ones who brought Wi-Fi to the masses, even if the computer they did it on looked a little bit like a toilet seat. Now, we're talking early.
Oh my God, yeah.
If you need modern Wi-Fi, the best place to look is Micro Center. From Aruba to Unify.
Wait, they have Aruba access points at Micro Center now? God damn it. I didn't know Aruba made cheap shit anymore for consumers. Okay.
They got you covered. Now, most laptops don't even have...
Okay, we'll skip the sponsor spot. Look, we all know Micro Center. We all love Micro Center. And by the way, Micro Center...
airport card for 99 bucks, and a lot of people did, like my aunt. But most people didn't have high-speed internet yet. Most people still had dial-up. And you might have noticed the poster on the wall behind me. This is a visual representation of what everyone in my generation thought was the internet. This poster shows an audio spectrum graph of the modem handshake, the noise every modem would make as it communicated with another modem through POTS, or the plain old telephone system. What sounds to us like different kinds of static is the way most modems communicated digitally over imperfect analog phone lines.
Back in the day, modems literally had a handset and you had to drop the phone onto it, and it had a microphone to listen to it, as I recall. It was really wild.
Instead of saying like 01001010.
They're building a Micro Center near you. No more driving 3 hours, the closest one. Nice! Make sure when y'all go to Micro Center, let them know who sent you. I mean, obviously Jeff did the sponsored spot, but I'm not sponsored and still telling you to go there.
QAM, or quadrature amplitude modulation, to send multiple bits of data.
Who says it's consumer APs for Aruba? Maybe some poor loss is one before realizing they need an expensive WLC.
With each sound they put out. We still use QAM today in Wi-Fi. It's just computers have gotten so much better at processing that we can cram more bits of data every second, leading to gigabits per second over here, versus a maximum of 33.6 kilobits back in the day. And yes, 56K modems were a thing back then, but it took a long time for ISPs and phone companies to upgrade their equipment for it. So, like my setup here at the studio, most people never got beyond 33.6 on their internet.
I got 56, but what my dad also helped me do to get around the limitations then, there was a concept known as a shotgun modem. So you would get a modem that actually had two RJ11 ports that had basically two modems. And it could connect over two phone lines at the same time and then bond those connections together. So you theoretically could have a 112K connection. But there was a lot of, like, stuff involved with it that I don't even remember because I was so little. But my dad did that. And then I think he was the crazy one that got ISDN into the house before we had full broadband.
That's kilobits. And like, if you wanted to load up modern CNN back then, it's a website.
I went to buy some Raspberry Pi 5, 16 gig. They cut me off at 5, which I was fine with because I was building a cluster. Man, Pi 5, 16 gigs are not cheap anymore. Like, Pis in general are not cheap because of this RAM crisis. I want to get a few Pis. I want to get at least 5 to build a Kubernetes cluster. Because what I'd like to do is move the Docker stuff that I currently have on my logging server, like my announcement servers and everything, set that up to a Kubernetes cluster so it will always be able to fail over, and I don't have, I can split out the loads in different Docker clusters.
23 megabytes to load without ads, mind you. It would take
Sounds like a nice bonding moment with Dad. I see what you did there.
1.5 hours to load it back then. And that's assuming your sister didn't pick up the phone to call someone in the middle of the page load, killing your connection.
Yep.
That's all well and good, but you probably want to know how I set up my own ISP here in the studio and whether it can do anything useful. At the heart of this setup is this Raspberry Pi. I'm running a Pi 5, but you don't need to do that. You could run a Pi 3 or a Pi 4. They're much cheaper and more available, but I had this Pi 5 sitting around unused, so that's why I'm using it here. This is my ISP, and I actually built open source software called Pi ISP that you can use that uses Ansible to set everything up for your own ISP. And this has plugged into the back of it this modem. This is a StarTech 56K modem. Now, I'm not going to be able to get 56K on this setup. And the reason for that is I'm using plain old telephone service or an analog phone line out of that box, which we'll get to. And that only supports up to V34, which is 33.6, and even 33.6 can be a little flaky over the setup. And you're probably wondering, like, with all the modern digital technology, why is it still so hard? It's because when you're trying to convert analog signals into digital data, it's still hard, even using more modern technology.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a 56K modem that you can get still brand new. You need to
Shotgunning was a whole setup, needed a proxy, yeah.
Modem or a WIN modem.
When's the last time you analyzed a packet? A couple weeks ago.
For the Pi, that would work too, but I bought this because it's easier, USB is simpler, and I can use this with other computers too. You don't really have to use a Pi, it's just I had this sitting there, and if, like I said, a Pi 3 would still work. But that Pi is connected to this, which is a phone line simulator. They actually use these in prisons. This is a Viking DLE 200B. And you know how in prisons they have those like rooms with the glass between them, and you can like pick up the phone and talk to somebody across the glass? That's usually the kind of system they use. And it has configuration for how it rings, how many rings there are. And you need that because there has to be a certain voltage on the phone line. A lot of tools expect different types of ringtones and rings and all that kind of stuff, so you can configure all that in here. And I'm going to demonstrate that really quick. I'm going to unplug line 2 here. And one thing that a lot of people used to care about was not destroying their modems, and some phone line systems would do that. So this is a
Yeah, I forgot that was a thing.
Vintage Computer Fest last year. I don't remember exactly who gave this to me, but this is actually a working tool to check to see if your phone line is going to destroy your modem, and I just realized this is going to be upside down here. So I'm going to plug it in, and it's actually going to ring, and I think the modem is going to pick up now. What it does is I'll tell you that light was on, the one that says normal. If one of the other lights is on, you might not want to plug your modem in because that could destroy it. But we can also plug in a phone and just have this set up in the style of a prison. So if I plug this in, now this phone will ring that phone and vice versa. So if I pick this up, it will call that phone. And I can have a conversation with myself.
Fun little device.
Something you do a lot as a YouTuber, but anyway.
You could totally use that to make an intercom throughout the house, really. I mean, it'd be a little bit different than the typical intercom system, but it'd be fun.
That's how that works. I can call back the other phone like this.
I just thought of something, like what happens if you have a kid that's like expecting to wait on hand and foot? You can give them their morning wake-up call and just set a phone randomly next to their bed in the middle of the night that they wake up to a phone call. But then again, kids don't even know what these kind of phones are often. That'd be interesting.
This. So that's how that works. And this is just simulating a phone line. Oh, okay, so you can stop calling each other. Why? Something is still offline. Nope. Yeah, the modem is trying to connect, but we don't want it to connect. I'm going to unplug this, and hopefully that'll reset things. That didn't do anything. Oh no, stop ringing.
Welcome to the tech world with tech issues.
It finally hung up.
Did you know I used the landline daily until 2018?
And what I have set up right...
Did you know I kept trying to set up a landline until 2018 myself? So you used to be able to get these Obi-Hi boxes to connect to Google Voice, and then you would connect a corded phone that way? Because I always believed you needed some kind of a corded phone. I still believe corded phones are a great thing to have inside a house. But they're getting rid of plain old telephone system, so...
Now is this airport has a modem built into it. So basically this modem is going to call out through this phone line to this modem over here, and then this Pi is plugged into my network, and it can share the internet. And this is using mGetty, get-TTY, along with PPP. So mGetty controls the modem. It says, you know, there's a ring on the line, answer and see what kind of protocol we're negotiating. Once it negotiates a protocol, it passes the connection over to PPP. Once PPP...
Oh, by the way, my Mesh-tastic now saw my node from outside, so we should start seeing more and more things over time.
sets up the connection, it creates a little virtual network for the modem connection, and then this is then...
For my home lab, I want to set up VoIP phone, but it's so much harder up here compared to the US. Really? Can't you find, like, a SIP trunk provider? Because that's the main thing you need, and then after that, it's just incredible PBX or something like that. The big bitch is finding a phone provider that will give you a SIP trunk, configuring that SIP trunk, and then from there, that's just plain old, you know, VoIP, baby.
It shares that...
To make iPhone apps, but you need Mac, what's cheaper, better way, instead of buying Mac? So you can actually, there's a few services out there that let you essentially rent a Mac in the cloud. AWS, I know, has it, but there's a couple other providers, I cannot remember off the top of my head, that essentially it's actual Mac hardware you remote into, and you can do that. That is an option, but I know of quite a few companies that they need Mac to package software. So as part of the CI/CD, they literally have like a Mac Mini that is networked, that's like a server of sorts, that they've scripted to basically take in whatever and do the signing and whatever needed to be done and then ship it out. Apple, unfortunately, has never really thought properly of how the business side of these things would work. And that's one of my big gripes with Apple hardware and the Apple ecosystem. Because you need Apple computers to make Apple software, and they don't even make it in ways that are very conducive to a proper DevOps, you know, workflow, and considering how an enterprise would develop all this stuff. Isn't there a tool in Kali that lets you change your Mac? Well, we're talking about Mac computer, not Mac address. You can change your Mac address without any specific, or any special tool in Kali. Kali's just using tools that are available. Phones are dime a dozen, but providers suck. Well, that's kind of how it is. What's your opinion on IPv8? It sucks twice as much as V6. Okay. I don't know if there's really an IPv8. We're still trying to get people to go on IPv6, and I'm not a fan of that whole schema they have.
One dial-up connection with all the...
Why is there a telephone? Because he's got dial-up internet he's set up.
10 or 20 clients, something like that. Most people had one or maybe two in their house by the time they upgraded to some other kind of airport. Because this was the original. This only supported 11 megabits, but in most cases it would be using 5
it's wireless B
megabits of bandwidth for the internal network. So it didn't scale that well, but it
yeah, we didn't really use wireless inside of our house much until wireless G. We had B, but B was so my dad already had Ethernet throughout the house, so it's kind of like, hey, we have Wi-Fi, but we still, like, my dad and I had PCMCIA cards connected to Ethernet. We would literally have dangling out of our laptops as we go room to room to jack in. We'd rather do that than use the wireless B cards that we had. Wireless A just didn't get the range. That was faster, but it was 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, and back then it was not that great. It's not nearly the same thing as, like, wireless N, at least was. Especially not AC. But anyway, G is where it started becoming livable, because then you had 54 megabits per second. How to check if neighbor is on my Wi-Fi? Excuse me. You can check all the clients that are connected to your wireless router, or access points or stuff like that. And if any look like it's not things that should be there, you have your answer.
it achieved its goal of bringing
Most of us started gaming on wireless B. B was iffy.
Wi-Fi to the masses. And it's funny, you'll notice that almost all of these original airports, and in fact, even things like these iBooks, are missing the Apple logo's leaf because whatever glue Apple used just came undone.
Yeah, they always came out.
These all pop off and nobody knows where they went. Anyway, that is the setup there. And other than that, you can use any retro computing device. Like this iBook has its own modem built in, and my other old laptops all have modems built in. You could create your own ISP. You could even have multiple Pis running with multiple modems and have multiple lines. I'm not going to get that involved because I really just wanted to see if I could set up a system where I can dial in from old laptops or dial in through Wi-Fi. Before I started testing dial-up over the airport, I tested it on the iBook's internal modem, and I was reminded just how confusing networking
Wireshark and Nmap too.
macOS 9. For dial-up, you use the remote access utility to connect, but if you wanted to get internet over that connection, you
Holy shit, I forgot about that app.
also had to go into the TCP/IP control panel and switch it over to PPP. And then if you wanted
Good old Triple P.
you'd have to go into that control panel. Apple had some sort of location manager system to help with this mess, but it did take some time to adjust to the way things used to be. Once I was connected, I was reminded again just how slow dial-up was in comparison to the fiber and cable I have now.
Oh yeah.
Even cell phones have blazing speeds compared to this. I also remembered frequently staring at the Explorer loading widget, waiting for the page to finish loading, or on a flaky connection, I'd stare at the status bar to make sure it wasn't stuck loading something forever.
I think that my generation and older generations that use technology are a lot more patient than the current generations because we actually had to deal with this shit. It's wild. Like now, what is it? The metric is basically if your website doesn't load in 3 seconds, you lose like 50% of your traffic. Like they'll bounce. It's like, I don't know if it's that insane, but it kind of is like that level.
Usually that meant someone picked up the phone causing the modem to go crazy. And sometimes if I wasn't sure, I'd open remote access and stare at the send and receive bars. If I didn't see any activity for a while, something definitely went wrong. Using the old WhatRoute app, I pinged my local NTP server and Cloudflare DNS.
I forgot about a lot of these.
100 milliseconds, even on the local LAN, which is
The apps.
crazy, but at least they were stable. Since I knew my Pi ISP was working now, I went in to set up the airport. I bought this thing used, and it already had someone else's setup. I tried a few passwords, but couldn't figure it out, so I had to reset the thing. Since I don't have a paperclip laying around, I had to find out that jumper wire is actually stiff enough to do it and thin enough to fit in there, so I completely...
How you don't have a paperclip laying around? Even I have a couple somewhere.
reset the airport following
Or
Apple
pokey plier, or pokey tweezers or something.
airport rebooted, and
Using Quad 9 DNS has been frustrating. A website that has nothing to filter takes 15 seconds to load images. Huh. I've never seen that issue in Quad 9 as my primary.
I could connect. Just to make sure that the airport itself was working, I plugged it into my LAN and loaded a few web pages over the airport connection on the iBook. I was happy to see Mr. Froggy from FrogFind loading, though things were a little slow. Even on the LAN, this airport wasn't much of a speed demon, but it was fun looking at the blinking lights, and I remember doing that a lot back in the day while I was waiting for pages to load. Internet Explorer 5 was all the rage back then, but it's extremely outdated now, and only a few niche websites will work on it that don't have SSL. There used to be a more modern fork of Mozilla for classic macOS called Classilla, so I loaded that up on the iBook from a USB.
That's what I thought it was, okay.
Wait like an hour to copy it over the LAN with Apple Talk. It actually worked a lot better for sites like Macintosh Garden, and I could even kick off some downloads, which were glacial, coming in under 4 kilobits per second. Definitely not a good setup for
Kilobytes.
I went into the airport admin utility and reconfigured the base.
So this is the one thing that tripped a lot of people up. That's kilobyte. Big B, byte. Little b, bit. So just keep that in mind. It's one of those little things because, like, remember, there's 8 bits in a byte. So if he's going at 4 kilobytes, he would be going at 8, 16, 32 kilobits a second. Yeah, it gets confusing.
Definitely not a good setup for torrent.
Maybe it's AdGuard home overhead. It could possibly be. It's kind of hard to say without being there. But I do my DNS directly through pfSense, and it has PF blocker NG filtering. So there's like almost no overhead with those lookups because it pulls the DNS blacklisting and all that before, every day when it does its cycle. So it basically just goes through, resolves, if good, out, if not, block.
But I went into the airport admin utility and reconfigured the base station for dial-up. The settings are surprisingly straightforward. In fact, there are still some Wi-Fi routers today that are infinitely harder to get set up. You know, it's a shame. I owned a few of Apple's airport base stations over the years. And
yeah, Apple routers were really good back in the day. I will be honest about that.
This is where I only had a dozen users.
Apple was goated back in the day.
Either let airport detect when you access the internet and it'll dial for you, or you can click connect and it'll dial up right away. Unfortunately, since they didn't put a speaker inside here for the airport modem, you don't get to hear the handshake like we did on the iBook earlier in the video. Once it's connected, it'll stay connected until a timeout that you can set, and it'll keep resetting that timeout whenever you access the internet. This was pretty stable in my testing, though it did get flaky after a few hours. Letting it cool down by unplugging it always made things better, so I'm guessing that time isn't so kind to these early closed-up airports. By the way, did you know Wi-Fi in these things is actually just one of these Lucent Waveland PC cards? If you ever find a broken base station, rip this card out and you can use it with most laptops from that era. Like here, I'm using it on a...
Oh!
Apparently, Lucent sold their first generation Wi-Fi cards for like $300, and Steve Jobs famously negotiated with them to sell the chipset to Apple at a loss for $50. Without that negotiation, Wi-Fi would have remained out of reach for consumers for at least another year or two, and companies like Lucent wouldn't have had the volume to get their costs down. But now it's time to browse the internet like it's 1999. Complete wireless freedom. And I didn't mention this before, but I can get over 6 hours of battery on this old iBook. I actually sent the battery into LASD or LazyD, or I don't know how you pronounce that name, but he replaced all the 18650 lithium-ion battery cells, and so this laptop is running as good as new now. Most of my testing for this video was done on battery power, and I only had to plug it in to charge once. I paid full price for that service, but I have no qualms about recommending him to anyone else who needs a rebuild. He even wrote up a full guide on his website if you want to try doing it yourself, but I decided not to since I don't have the right equipment, and lithium-ion batteries are notoriously fiery. Oh, and there's one more thing.
Yeah, you need a battery welder, not a soldering iron for them.
Classic that lets you browse most of the modern internet, even on old computers like this one. And it has a special mode, which I'll demonstrate browsing Wi-Fi from my couch. And I'm just now noticing that this laptop matches very nicely with the color scheme of this couch.
Oh God!
Internet Explorer. And the first thing I want to demonstrate is the ability to use a proxy running on the Pi server, that Pi ISP, that will let me browse modern websites. So let me check my settings really quick, and I'll show you it's not using a web proxy right now. And if I go to my website, jeffgeerling.com, and try to load it,
it's not going to load.
An error message. Now this is if everything's working correctly, which with the modem sometimes it doesn't, which right now it doesn't look like it is. But if this were reaching out to the public internet and getting DNS, it would say that there's an SSL certificate error.
Looks like Nickelodeon sponsored that laptop.
Modern website, which is very annoying. But if I turn on the proxy, which I can just do here, this is the IP address of the Raspberry Pi, and I set it to port 5001. I can have the proxy enabled and load my website like this. And it will actually load my website and let me browse my website. It doesn't have all the styling of
right.
the website, but I can click on an article and view it, which this is dial-up. So even my website, which is very optimized for quick loading, is slow. But
well, yeah.
So we got the thing. There's obviously
because there's a lot of images.
But the Mac Proxy Classic will actually rescale images to load more quickly on older computers. You can even set it to like bitmap mode and things for really old computers. But it's kind of crazy that I can be browsing the modern internet on this iBook from 1999.
I mean, yeah, you could, but it's one of those like
thing that this enables me to do.
I'm not sure it's useful in most cases.
Archive.org, and there's a special plugin that I can turn on through the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine any date and browse the web like it was that date. So I'm going to go to July 30th, 1999, which was right after this Mac was launched. And now if I go to apple.com, it's not going to take me to their website today. It's going to take me to apple.com the month that they launched the iBook.
Oh, that's neat.
You might have seen this earlier in the video.
Okay, that is cool, the Wayback Machine, to go look at old stuff.
And you can set any date. You don't have to set 1999 like I did. But they even had an article about the Air.
Oh God, QuickTime. Forgot about QuickTime.
How cool is this? Like, I'm browsing the internet as if I were in 1999.
Buy now! Receive additional 128 megabytes of RAM. You can't even get a flash drive with 128 megabytes.
Computer that I bought brand new with.
Can probably watch old Space Ghost Coast to Coast. It's Adult Swim, everybody. Get out of the pool.
Back in the day.
All kids, get out of the pool.
Modem and 10 base T Ethernet.
If you know, you know.
It's also funny when you browse the internet at.
You also know you're an OG when you know this song by heart. The Aqua Teen Hunger Force theme song. I am Sheikh Zula, the Mike Ruler, the old schooler. You want a trip? I'll bring it to ya. Fry lock and I'm on top, rocking like a cop. Meet Wad, yep, next with your knock knock. Meet Wad, get the honeys, see. Meet Wad, get the honeys, G. Driving in my car, living like a star. Ice on my fingers and my toes and I'm a toss. Cause we are the Aqua Teens. Make the homies say ho and the girlies wanna scream. That was a great show. Of course, I was probably stoned out of my mind when I watched it most of the time back in the day, but yeah.
That period to see some of the things, some of the crazy things.
I was shocked when my mom got an M3 and I had to enable outside repos to download VLC.
Of the flags, but there's a lot of websites that still had animated GIFs around. And just seeing, you know, the way the world was back then. This was, 1999 was still a time when a lot of places didn't even have a website. So the
should tell them to go to whitehouse.com back then. If you know, you know.
places that did were usually.
Which AI is best for web testing, even local AI free one? Depends on what you're trying to do, but Claude is generally the better technology one. Quen Coder works really well locally. I'm just teaching him about his morals. Look at him and tell me there's...
Usually bigger institutions that had been around a lot longer. But it's funny, it says here that I can send electronic email to the president. Let's see if that actually works. Can I email the president of the United States back in 1999? No, apparently not. But yeah, there's the White House. Now, one more thing I want to try, if it works, is Macintosh Garden. And it might not work right now because of DNS issues. I'm going to disable this. And I'm going to go into settings and delete Macintosh Garden from here. I'm going to go to Macintosh Garden. And we're going to search for an app.
What was the AI for web testing? I generally recommend Claude.
I'm going to search for Flappy Mac.
Claude works the best for a lot of technical stuff.
Flappy Mac.
Quen Coder locally works decently well.
And see if it will run on this Mac. And I should note that this is running through the proxy, but not running through the proxy. Macintosh Garden actually loads on internet.
The government won't even use Claude anymore.
Having issues.
That was all they needed to hear. Yeah, Claude is still way better. It was kind of funny that they were actually like threatening Claude so hard for having very sensible guardrails.
Always DNS. That's why I'm wearing this t-shirt. But anyway, through the proxy, this is all a little broken in layout, but without it...
Something that can read the screen in real time. So none of them can really read the screen in like real time. There's always a delay for it to do processing. But Claude can do a lot of that stuff. Of course, you're going to pay for Claude.
Let's see if I can download this file. Here we go. Download manager. It's downloading at 500 bytes per second. I'm about 50 feet away, maybe 40 feet away from the base station right now. So this actually kind of checks out. Like 1 to 2 kilobytes per second is what I'd expect, and we're getting almost 1 kilobyte per second. So yeah, this is It's going to take a little while, but we'll get there. Okay, didn't want to make you sit through the entire download. So I have it here. Let's see if it runs on the iBook. It should. And yeah, I've run this one time already, and I got to 4.
Good God.
This is like insanely, it is so hard. I don't know. Flappy Bird was, it's one of the most frustrating games ever, but I think that's why it made it so fun. Kind of like QWOP, Q-W-O-P, yeah. Anyway, so that works. And I don't know, it's crazy to see all the things that you could do. It's slow, very slow, but one more thing that I did want to test before I close up the iBook and put it back on in my studio is see if I can set date and time.
Hey, puppy.
Set the NTP date over Wi-Fi
boy.
in here. So the last time
boy.
I synchronized was on 3:30, so a couple days
That's my good dog. How you doing, Baraki?
but I haven't tested it in here.
Baraki boy.
I'm going to see if this set time now works.
That's my good dog. What is even integratable with Canva? Canva has an MCP?
And
Yeah. Is that what I'm hearing?
And that routing is not working.
I'm about to look at
I
that.
don't know exactly why that happens, but it does sometimes. I've noticed
Because if I get some DGX Sparks, I'm gonna have it integrate into Canva so I can make my thumbnails more.
that when that's happening, I'm not getting external DNS either, so something's wrong with DNS, which it's always DNS. I'll post a video clip up here of when it did work, because
It made your landing page nice.
and I don't know exactly what's causing
I'll have to see how that works.
time. But anyway, that is Wi-Fi in another room through dial-up through the airport. And it's also kind of interesting that Apple started around this time period of making these laptops where you could just close the lid and it would go to sleep all on its own. One last test was I wanted to see if newer Macs could still connect to this OG base station. And, well, some could, but most couldn't. My PowerBook G3 worked with the Waveland card, but that was from the same era, so that was kind of expected. It was nice having the way bigger screen though the hard drive in the G3 sounds like it's on its way out, so I'll have to do some maintenance on that laptop soon. I installed an era-appropriate Broadcom Wi-Fi chip on the PCI Express bus on my dual 2 GHz G5, and I could actually get it to connect using Airport, but I couldn't get any web traffic to flow. It was funny, it even showed the connection time from the airport right in the menu bar. I tested on my MacBook Neo, but it wouldn't connect at all. It said the airport network could not be joined. And it'd probably work with more modern airport units like the Airport Extreme or the Time Capsule, but sadly it didn't work here with the original.
I wonder what the limitation is there.
Links to all the parts and my code in the description. I'd also like to give a huge thanks to Doge Microsystems for their dial-up server guide, the serial port for some modem advice, and LASD or LASD for getting my battery shipped back in time for making this video. Until next Marchintosh, I'm Jeff Geerling. Time isn't so kind to these early closed-up AirPod units. AirPod.
Okay. That was interesting. What's the next video we have here? Meta just ended Quest piracy. Okay. I guess we're watching some AR, VR stuff again.
Amazing today. I'm Mystical, and as you can see, we're working with a brand new microphone. Just want to give a massive shout out to Fifine for sending over their AM8 as well as their SC3.
I thought they were called Fifine. Fifine? Whatever. They sent me a microphone. Well, they didn't send me. I bought a microphone because I thought I'd need 2 for the Linux side. Turns out the...
And broke.
There's a Linux issue with Rodecaster. Well, it's not an issue with Linux, it's Rodecaster's limitation that I have to boost the audio on the Linux side because the Windows drivers apparently naturally do the boost or something like there. Anyway, I had to boost it like 25%.
Send this over for review on this channel. I want to give them a massive shout out.
Oh, hey,
they
Poppy.
were actually one of the first companies to send anything over at the very beginning of this channel's history.
Hold on. We got a puppy break. Okay. I got my boys. God, you've gotten so big. Oh. Oh. Dogs. Ow. I gotta get your claws done. I love you too. I love you too. You're a good boy. He's a good boy. He needs to get surgery, by the way, just so you know. Nothing life-threatening, just quality of life. He's got what you call it? A benign tumor on his arm. You want a treat? Chev? Lamala? Lamala? Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come here. Come here. Come here. Ari, come here. Come on. Good boy. Is the AI reshaping cybersecurity? Reshaping? No. Is it another tool for us to use? Yes. Chev. Hey. Lamala. You dumbass. You knocked it out. He's that good boy. So that's Barack. If you're not familiar with him, he's the puppy. He is 2.5. Ari just turned 8. He's that good dog. He's that good dog. And Ari is a Jack Russell Red Heeler mix. And then Barack is an Old English Sheepdog and Husky mix. You're mutt. You're my little mutt. He's that good boy. Alright, let's continue on.
Anyway, enough of that. Welcome to today's episode on the latest and greatest.
Let's move on past the little jump there.
Quest's biggest source of piracy, or at least the biggest known source of piracy, VR pirates. If you've been on the Quest scene for a while, you probably know what this was. The group was cracking paid titles from the Meta Horizon store, removing the entitlement checks and distributing them for free. They even had a desktop PC.
They were Robin Hooding that shit.
Called Rookie Sideloader. It had a full GUI that let you browse and download a huge library of Quest games. This tool would let you easily install them on any connected Quest headset via USB or wireless ADB. And on top of all that, they were collecting financial donations.
Ooh.
Games. Earlier this month, Meta's legal department issued a formal DMCA takedown notice. According to VR Pirates themselves, this notice specifically referenced Beat Saber, which Meta owns, making any legal fight essentially unwinnable. One of their developers wrote on Reddit, "As much as I hate to say it, they're well within their rights." VR Pirates has now shut down all file hosting servers, declared they will never come back, and stopped accepting donations. The Rookie Sideloader tool still works for sideloading APKs that you download yourself, same as SideQuest or the MetaQuest Developer Hub, but it now throws an error when
sounds like an emulator with the extra steps. Doesn't look like they're emulating
popular single-player Quest games.
I think people use the word emulation too much and they don't actually understand what it means. So they're not emulating anything. They're just stripping the DRM basically out of it. Like when people are like playing on Linux with Windows games, that's not even emulation either. If you're doing it on an ARM system for x86 software, that's emulation. If you're playing a Game Boy or a Nintendo 64 or a Sega Genesis or any of that old, retro consoles on a computer, that's emulation. And technically speaking, if you were to do the same thing with the Xbox One, the PlayStation 5, that would not be emulation either because it's x86 hardware.
Told Upload VR they're relieved, saying piracy was a significant problem on the platform. Well, yeah, when it was made that easy, I'm not surprised. The honest reality, though, is that fighting piracy is a whack-a-mole. For now, the public Quest piracy scene is effectively eliminated. There was no real second place. Whether another group eventually fills this void, or whether Meta's legal action pushes this scene into private groups and private spaces, remains to be seen.
Privacy will return. There's a vacuum.
The previous video to let me know
nature abhors a vacuum.
Down. It seems quite a few of you were actually using it in order to sideload APKs that you found yourself, so that you wouldn't have to use the ADB command line tool. And that's fair. The command line tool isn't for everyone, and it can seem overwhelming at first. But again, Rookie Sideloader still remains open for anyone wanting to use it for legal means. And with that, let's move on to our next piece of news. And this one is quite a sad one, as Ubisoft is ceasing development at Red Storm Entertainment, the long-running studio behind Assassin's Creed Nexus VR. According to an internal memo, this results in a loss of 105 jobs. The studio itself...
Oh no, Ubisoft is killing more of their IP. Ubisoft sucks.
As well as IT...
I'm shocked.
So, no more games. For context on how significant Red Storm Entertainment actually was, it was founded in 1996 by Tom Clancy himself, and is best known for creating the original Rainbow Six, acquired by Ubisoft in 2000. They went on to make Ghost Recon and
It was a massive resource for grabbing games. Within 2 weeks of the announcement about servers shutting down, Minerva created a fully functional clone.
which Ubisoft essentially
Sounds about right.
geared the studio towards VR. Werewolves Within, Star Trek Bridge Crew, and most recently, Assassin's Creed Nexus VR in 2023. At least 2 games were publicly cancelled before this closure. A Splinter Cell VR game for Quest cancelled in 2022, and Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland, a free-to-play shooter cancelled in 2024. And of course, we don't know what they were actually working on when Ubisoft pulled the plug. This is another data point in a longer trend of major publishers pulling back from dedicated VR game development. Red Storm was genuinely one of the studios that took VR seriously for over a decade.
Well, unfortunately, VR is just an expensive thing that there's not many people in it.
Sad to see it. This happens way too often nowadays. And then
390 terabytes
pulling the plug on games
now
like
distributed via magnet links.
I still
Eee,
haven't
that's a
done it,
lot.
where the fan base is incredibly large and still to this very day tries to keep the game active. Okay, now on to something a bit more positive for us interested in leaks, firmware, and, you know, all the techie, nerdy stuff. As Luna has posted an animation of the new hand locomotion that she finally managed to render on X. This one's been sitting in Meta's firmware as raw data. The hand locomotion animation. It's a visual tutorial that will accompany the future hand-based movement feature, the one that uses thumb and index finger gestures to teleport or slide around your home space. What's interesting here is that she notes Meta is continuing to iterate on the tutorial itself. And talking about entirely, they've already removed the Worlds tab and anything mentioning Worlds itself from the Navigator tutorial, which aligns directly with the strategy shift we talked about in the last video. Even the tutorial UX is being updated to reflect the new Quest as gaming platform direction. No release date for hand locomotion has been found yet, but the fact that Meta is actively building and refining the tutorial system suggests it's getting pretty close. So make sure to keep an eye out for this one. It's definitely something that is needed. We've been asking for a hand locomotion system for a while now. Until now, it's been, well, until whenever Meta releases this, it's been up to developers in order to release a hand locomotion feature for their games if they wanted to use hand locomotion instead of using controllers. If Meta made something system-wide, that would make the job for developers quite a bit easier. Now onto something that is a bit more forward-looking, but genuinely fascinating, as Meta is once again funding research on EMG wristbands, which of course they are. I mean, their main control system for and display glasses is now their Meta armband, which we have been asking for the longest time to become an accessory for, say, a phone, which I'm still asking for, by the way. Meta has awarded $150,000 in research funding to each of 6 university teams to study how people learn to control computers using muscle signals, and what ethical issues come with it.
Okay, here's the signal that you'll need, Meta, from me. Can you record that? Because that's the only signal Meta's gonna need from me.
The focus is on wrist-based surfaced electromyography, or SEMG, the subtle input method Meta actually uses and has been developing for their glasses ecosystem.
It looks like he has an iPod on his wrist.
Display glasses, you know that this is already a product. The Meta Neural Wristband actually uses SEMG sensors to let you control your Meta Ray-Ban displays with almost imperceptible finger movements. The Orion AR prototype used the exact same approach. What's interesting about these grants is the breadth of what is explored. The University of British Columbia is developing something called SEMG Talk, generative speech from forearm muscle signals without using your mouth or throat. Newcastle University is working on
What that throat do?
SEMG input that could expand communication bandwidth. The University of South Florida is focusing on helping people gain vocabulary control over subtle muscle signals, with an emphasis on stroke survivors. And UC Davis is studying on how different users learn SEMG controls, comparing structural instruction against gamified training, and looking at how age and social support affect the learning curve. Because
Right.
these are supposed to be quite intuitive. I mean, you just put
Gotta
them
set
on
something
and
on
they
Mesh Task. Gotta disable that
This could be
GPS.
really brilliant for accessibility, and you can see Meta looking at exactly that by funding these studies. The key challenge, the research acknowledges, it's not just about reading signals, it's about making the interaction feel natural and useful. That is the hard part. This is Meta playing a long game, following the academic layer so that when SEMG becomes mainstream input for glasses and AR, the foundational research is already done and points back to their ecosystem. From what I've heard, as I haven't had the chance to actually try it myself, their SEMG wristband that they use for the Meta Ray-Ban display is already brilliantly calibrated. So I can only imagine what this technology will work like in the future when this research has been conducted, and when we have better calibration data and more calibration data. Now, one for the Beat Saber fans, as 21 Pilots Stressed Out is the latest Beat Saber Shock Drop track, dropping on March 26th for just $1.99. If you somehow don't know this song, it's their 2015 hit from the Blurry Face album, peaked at number 2 on Billboard Hot 100, and was the first rock track to hit 1 billion streams on Spotify. The Beat Saber Shock Drop series has been pretty solid recently. Previous drops include
Got a Quest S3, used it once and never use it again, it's just collecting dust. That's the problem with a lot of these VR things, is they seem great, but, you know...
Birds of a feather. Also worth noting, Beat Saber joined the Horizon Plus games catalog this month, so if you're a subscriber, that's a pretty good reason to jump back in. As usual, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you guys liked it, please leave a like. If you disliked it, I guess this button works too, but let me know why down below. Stick with me while I calibrate this microphone to our audio profiles and try to get it sounding with our...
Okay, moving on. We already saw the Linus Tech Tips situation with the jet. We talked about that before, so let's move on. Some shorts here.
A rough week for Meta, and honestly this'll make you smile, because Meta lost another lawsuit forcing them to pay nearly $400 million in damages. Because Meta just was the target of a honeypot operation where 2 undercover agents went and masked themselves as children younger than 14 on Facebook and Instagram and tested the child safety features of the platform. And within days of starting the operation, they received countless sexually explicit messages and even were asked to meet by 3 different people that were then arrested trying to meet a 12-year-old girl. They really got
Okay.
Chris Hansen left home right to jail special. And as a result of this operation, Meta was sued by the New Mexico's Attorney General over enabling not only child exploitation, but more importantly, hiding the truth on how safe the platform is for children from the public.
We've been saying for years, like, because, like, all the politicians are basically, like, focused in on, like, oh, it's darknet, it's encrypted spaces where these children are being exploited, and I'm like, no. It's Instagram, it's Discord, it's Roblox, it's Facebook. All the platforms where the kids are where the predators are going to go. What? Like, let's put it this way. Where would you more likely find a predator to kids? In a playground? Or at a bar? think about that for a second. Could they visit the bar? Yeah, but more likely when they're actually looking for a victim, they're going to be at the playground. Because why? That's where their intended prey is. In the same way, kids are not going to the dark net. They're going to Instagram, they're going to Discord, they're going to Roblox, they're going to Facebook, they're going there. They're going wherever the kids are. Any advice on getting into IAM? I mean, it's just the same thing with everything in cybersecurity. You just got to look into what they're looking for. Now, on IAM, it depends on a lot of what they're doing, but generally, they're looking for Active Directory, Microsoft Entra, and or Okta, Cisco Duo understanding, so like understanding federated identity, OIDC, SAML, LDAP, Active Directory, things like that. It's mostly just around the technologies around identity and access management, a little bit of Radius, 802.1x, you know, things like that. Well, I don't know if 802.1x really, it should. A little bit. But yeah, it's basically around, you know, authentication and authorization.
That Meta was aware of these issues but didn't.
Snapchat is bad too, I can believe that.
Meta got
Hey, thank you for the 50 biddies.
show how easy it
Kilobyte.
was for children to be target of sexual explicit content and DMs, but they even brought in 2 different whistleblowers. The first one was an engineer that worked at Meta, testifying that he warned Meta multiple times about these problems and putting out this heater. The product is very good at connecting people with interests, and if your interest is little girls, it will be really good at connecting you with little girls. I'm sorry, that line should have set the courthouse on fire. That bar is hot. Don't let Drake know that this is a thing. And the former Meta vice president of partnerships testified against the company as well, saying that child safety was never a priority. And instead of Meta defending the claims, by the way, they just said that this investigation was unethical, used hacked accounts and photos from non-consensual children with no evidence to back that up. They didn't deny anything. They really hit him with the, yeah, children might not be safe on our platform, but something smells fishy about that investigation. Anyways, Meta was found guilty for the first time ever in a child safety case and is now forced to pay $375 million in damages, which is a rough week for Meta. Lost 2 lawsuits.
I got the trifecta Security Plus recently, studying for SC300. Not familiar with that one. There's so many certs out there. Alright. Backrooms ARG. Are we talking about the backrooms?
Campaign, and it turns out that the Backrooms is a real place, you guys. People have discovered an old TV commercial that's promoting the same furniture store that we saw in the Backrooms movie trailer. It has the same visual quality as his photo, which is promoting the therapist's book, which is a blink and you'll miss it moment in the trailer. And when you call the phone number that is advertised, you get this. When you dial that number into a fax machine, it sends you a flyer.
I was gonna say it's a fax. Wait, what? It's actually... Somebody still has a fax working? That... Wow. I haven't seen that in years.
Wallpaper is slightly off.
Like, that actually responds.
Where he discovers where the Backrooms is located. Also notice this weird tear in the photo where light is peeking through, just like how light from the Backrooms is peeking through the wallpaper. When you call that number, the caller ID shows you a name of a town, and the flyer gives you a street address to a real location, which takes you to one of those empty spirit Halloween stores. And someone 8 hours ago said they were going to drive to that location to see what they can find, and they've completely stopped updating. No one has heard from this person since. Who knows if that account is real? They could be working alongside A24, or someone is actually lost inside the Backrooms right now as we speak. Either way, this is top-tier marketing that I have not seen the likes of since Cloverfield's ARG marketing campaign. And this is something they're going to keep adding on to all the way up to the theatrical release of the film, which happens on May 29th. Please let me know of any Easter eggs that maybe you spotted down in this ARG material that I didn't notice. As always, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts.
Okay, we already saw this music labels lose a big piracy case at the Supreme Court video. So let's move on to some other stuff that we have. So, what's this we have? Really? You're gonna make me do this? I'm not paying you, Bloomberg. Because guess what? You effed with Gamers Nexus. You're never gonna get my money. So we're just gonna find it from archive.org. Okay, and search, and and what the hell? You really have to press and hold this. Let's see, maybe it was just that one shot for some reason. Just was detected. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it was that one. It was that instance they had. All right. OpenAI, Anthropic, Google unite to combat model copying in China. Okay. Rivals begun working together to clamp down on Chinese competitors extracting results from cutting-edge U.S. artificial intelligence. The firms are sharing information through the Frontier Model Forum, an industry nonprofit that the three tech companies... I mean, what are they expecting? You really think that China's gonna listen to them? Because right now, China kind of doesn't care because of all the crap that Trump has done with their trade and everything. Like, without China state involvement, you're not gonna really have much ammo. Anthropic reveals $30 billion run rate and plans to use 3.5 gigawatts of new Google AI chips. Broadcom's building the silicon and is chuffed about that, but also notes Anthropic remains a risk. Well, you know, this is actually somewhat of good news, if my understanding is correct, because these Google chips are not NVIDIA chips, which means there may not be as much of a constraint around NVIDIA chips. And I bet NVIDIA is not happy that, you know, there's more competition now in the pie. But this won't really help anything with the memory costs. That's a whole other part of the equation we haven't done yet. Can you fill me in with Bloomberg and Gamers Nexus? So a few months ago, Gamers Nexus went to China to talk about the GPU black market that they have over there. Because, you know, there's an embargo on things. They released their video. It was a really great video. Bloomberg had their own, but they didn't really get anywhere because, well, Steve's a more likable person. Then Bloomberg issued a copyright strike on Gamers Nexus because he happened to have used a presidential speech that they were talking about, just like a little like 30-second, 1 minute kind of clip, that Bloomberg happened to be the agency that specific video traced back to. They eventually won the case from as far as I remember, but Bloomberg was such a fucking prick about it. Even our allies are stealing our secrets. It's just how things are. It's always have been. Oh, yeah, I can't get open WRT on my router because I can't find an Ethernet cable. Buddy, I got a whole tub of Ethernet cables. But yeah. We shared about 500% countries. Broadcom still worries about the AI upstart. I mean, yeah, we're still at the point. I think, what is it, Anthropic is, for every 10 cents, for every dollar they make, they're only making 10 cents in profit. Alright, so yeah, it was pretty much a DMCA hit job. Alright, Windows 0 Day appears on GitHub, hackers run funnyapp.exe and gain system privileges. An anonymous security researcher who feels stabbed in the back has put on a gray hat and dropped a dangerous 0 Day privilege exploit on GitHub. Was this the one when he did a bug bounty and Microsoft stiffed him? I think this was the case I was talking about. I think this was the case that some of my friends and I were talking about. Run the funny.app exe and you're a Windows admin. An unknown individual just dropped a 0-day exploit for elevating privileges on Windows. The bug is unpatched. The leaker suggests the situation could have been easily avoided if Microsoft had acted differently. Running that who am I and seeing system just hits different over the GitHub users said about the working unpatched exploit. Security research confirmed that the local privilege exploit escalation exploit is valid. Yeah. Justin Elzum, CTO at TrustedSec, I have one other challenge coins, by the way, explains that the flaw targets Windows Defender, which has the highest system privileges. This is a talk to time of check to time of use symlink race condition in Windows Defender signature update mechanism, a classic pattern where a privileged service, WD running a system, follows a file path that a low privilege user can redirect mid-operation using junctions and object manager symlinks, Elzum post on X. So they've confirmed it. However, the export notes that the code is not 100% reliable. On the server platform, it merely goes from non-admin to elevated admin rather than system. The GitHub repo already has 100 forks and nearly 300 stars, meaning that potential attackers might already be taking advantage of it. No shit, Sherlock. Leaker is apparently angry at Microsoft. The exploit was posted by a new account on GitHub. The individual behind it also posted on X and Blogger, expressing their anger with the tech giant. The first post on Blogspot released on March 26 was threatening. I never wanted to reopen a blog and a new GitHub account to drop code, but someone violated our agreement and left me homeless with nothing. They knew this would happen and they still stabbed me in the back anyways. This is their decision, not mine. The leaker using the alias Dead Eclipse 666 posted. I'm kind of not understanding how Microsoft not paying you made you homeless. I don't think Microsoft made you homeless. Like, should Microsoft have paid up a bounty? Yeah, but that's the thing with bug bounties. They tell you they're not always, you know, straightforward in getting paid, and it's sometimes pulling teeth to get, paid as well. So I'm kind of not understanding how them not paying you made you homeless. And this is why a lot of people also, if they do bug bounties, do it as a side hobby or a side job, not as their main job. Probably counted on the bug bounty to pay bills. No, I get that, but if Microsoft wasn't... Let me put it this way. If they didn't find this exploit in the first place, to me, given the context that I know, it sounds like they would have ended up homeless anyway. And I'm betting there's a little bit more to the story in the fact that were they working properly? Like, you know, these are all the questions you would have to ask. So it's like one thing to, you know, like, get paid by a side job and everything, but, you know, yeah, 100% there was background stuff going on. Oh, yeah, totally. But I just don't accept the answer of potentially Microsoft did do something bad, okay? Maybe they didn't pay, all of that. I understand that. I can understand being upset at Microsoft. I don't agree with the justification that Microsoft not paying you is the reason you are homeless. It sounds like there were other things at play, and it sounds like you would have had enough time, because bug bounties are not like, oh, you just report it in and you get paid next week. They usually take weeks, if not months. You had all your eggs in one basket. Or you're counting your chickens before they hatched and maybe spent money that you shouldn't have spent. But either way, you should have had other revenue coming in, other income. So, yeah. The League or the exploit Blue Hammer. Specifically called out Microsoft Security Response Center, MSRC, and its Vice President of Engineering, sending huge thanks for making this possible. Posts hint at a prior relationship with Microsoft that went sour, potentially a formal or informal bug bounty or responsible disclosure arrangement with the company. Yeah, we're going to need to know more details about that before I dive into that. But I still would find it hard-pressed to believe Microsoft not paying you the bug bounty is why you are homeless, because bug bounties are not guaranteed income. And when you do find a bug bounty, it's still a hassle to always get paid. It's a bounty because you gotta hunt down the patron and dig the schmeckles out of his shoe. Of course. Ah. Alright. MSRC used to be quite excellent to work with, but to save money, Microsoft fired the skilled people, leaving flowchart followers. I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft closed the case after the reporter refused to submit a video of the exploit, since that's apparently an MSRC requirement now. Microsoft explains that MSRC on occasion requests videos to help better understand and assess the impact, but video demonstrations are not a requirement for vulnerability disclosure submissions. Yeah, it's sounding like there's a little bit more detail that we're going to be needing here for this. Alright, moving on. We got some TikTok videos over here. Let's at least clear out the TikTok videos before we call it a night.
Got a quick question for you, alright? Okay? Only thing I ask is that you be honest, okay? Anybody in here know, and you can't guess, I just want you to be honest, no cloud chasing. Anybody in here know the brand name of the shoes Martin Luther King wore when he gave his I Have a Dream speech? No?
Timberland.
Okay, no guessing, remember?
Okay.
No guessing, no
I'm trying to understand what's the point here.
All right,
right.
What about the brand name of the purse or the coat that she had on when she refused to move to the back of the bus?
You know, I've never thought about these questions, but I don't think they're that relevant.
I want to be serious, though. Do y'all know? Right? Okay. So what about this? Hey, fellas, remember, no clout chasing, right? Right? No clout chasing, okay? So what about this? How many of you have learned about Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech? Raise your hand. Okay? How many of you have learned about Rosa Parks refusing to move to the back of the bus? Okay? So you know what that tells me? All of the great people that lived before you, they weren't great because of their shoes or the brand name of their purse, right? Because none of y'all even know that. But what you
I had a feeling this is where he was going with it, and I like it.
do know is what they did to make a difference, right? And so the same will be for you. Nothing wrong with having fly shoes and all of that. It's just nobody will remember that about you. What they're gonna remember is what did you do in your school, in your neighborhood that made a difference. Everybody got that? Trying to leave a legacy behind, yes? All right.
Brand names don't matter. My coach will emphasizes brand names for clothing especially. I wouldn't say that's a black culture thing exclusively. There's a lot of cultures that do that. Like, I'm Middle Eastern. Do you know the Middle Eastern stereotypes? Like, when it comes to, like, showing your wealth? Like, it's not just black culture. It happens in my Middle Eastern culture. It's happened with friends of mine in Asian culture. It seems to be more a culture of people that want to project their wealth, and the thing that I most often find is that those that are so attached to brand names and wearing brands, you know, like LVMH, all of that stuff, generally are the poorer people. Case in point. When I used to do car audio repair and car audio installs, okay? Do you know how we would judge somebody's wealth? Customer pulls in, all you know about them is basically about their car. They could dress one way or the other, but how do you, as a person on that level, judge somebody's wealth? Do you think it's by how flashy? You think the flashy the car is? I'm gonna tell you. The tires on the car. Generally, wealthy people will buy reliable cars and keep them in good condition and maintain them properly. You will not find bald tires on a wealthy person's car, or at least someone who's doing well. But you know what you will find on a lot of poor people's cars? If they happen to have a flashy car? You might find a broken taillight that had to be taped over. You might find, you know, a little bit of a rust spot here and there. I mean, but wealthy cars can have that too. But you will overwhelmingly find bald tires, mismatched lug nuts, mismatched rims. Or you'll find rims that outclass the car. You know what I mean by that? Like people, like there are rims out there. You can spend thousands of dollars on rims. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with getting nice rims. But there's that idea that you have to show people that you're wealthy is usually the indicator that you're actually poor. The most wealthy people that I know, and I know people who own private jets, dress down. They don't have the flashiest cars. Hell, one of the private jet owners that I know has an 8-year-old Volkswagen that he drives. You know, like, these are people that can afford those things. When they go and get shorts, the shirts he has are like $300-400, but you wouldn't tell. They don't have a brand name on them. It's the softest cotton you could imagine. You know, like, it's quality of stuff. But looking at them, you couldn't tell the difference until you go to, like, feel the shirt and like, oh, this is nice. I learned this when joining tech. Changed my whole perspective. 10 years now, I wear plain clothes. Yeah, like, I dress for quality. I wear 511 jeans. If you know how much 511 jeans cost, on sale, you can pick them up for maybe 30 to 50 bucks. But generally, they're 80 to 100 bucks a pair, depending on what you're getting. I could be a little bit off on the numbers there. But basically, you're paying for that. My shoes are a little bit more expensive. My boots were 200 bucks. My shoes were maybe 150. My boots were from Danner Boots. My shoes were from 511. My trainers and my regular everyday ones from 511. My shirts, if they're work shirts, they're 511. But I have all of these shirts as well. And my DEF CON shirts are probably my most expensive shirts that I have, if we're not talking about the pure quality shirts. Like, these are, like, my more expensive everyday one. But I'm wearing it more because, you know, that's the culture I'm in, and, you know, you pick up things. But, yeah, I find poor people dress in labels to show that they're rich. Wealthy people dress in comfort and reliability. They're more concerned with the value and quality of what they're getting than the total spending of things. For pants, I do black Dickies. They last. Oh, Dickies are great. I've got 511 pants that are kind of like the Dickies style. Yeah, they go great. I grew up a Kmart kid. I don't care about being flashy. Neither do I. The flashiest thing I have is maybe a couple of tattoos. I might get some more. I have a necklace. I maybe put some, earrings on that maybe have sterling silver. I have an Apple Watch. It's charging right now. But, like, It's not even like the fanciest Apple Watch. It's an Apple Watch Series 9, the basic watch. Will I get a new watch? Maybe in a year or two. My phone is an iPhone 15. Not the fanciest phone, not the most high-end. It's literally, this was the newest phone when I bought it, base model, to do exactly what I needed. Because I just use it as a phone. Depending on the town, you can get extremely high-quality materials for $20. Of course, you can always find great materials if you shop around. But the point being, they're shopping for quality. And some of those people have told me straight up, like, oh, you know, like, you'd go into their closet and you'd have tons and tons of these, like, tailored suits. And you're like, dude, this must have cost you, like, a few $1,000s a suit. And he's like, no, I have a guy in Hong Kong. I just order my suits in and fly in. He's got my measurements, and I pick them up for, like, a couple $100 a suit. Super nice quality. Same thing with another guy. He's got a cobbler, I think in the UK. They have a shoe mold of his feet. And when he needs to order new shoes, he calls them up, says I need to order another pair. A few weeks later, he picks them up in the UK. There you go. Let's continue on.
Dude.
It's the 90s and you tried to silence your Furby.
Stop. You know what? I'm just going to take the batteries out of you. You're not going to be able to talk anymore.
Oh my god, Furbies. Like, they actually were, like, inquired by the government, like, are they, like, spying on us or anything like that. There were, like, whole strategy guides to deal with them. There was, like, guides around their language with Furbish, and you could put a Furby near another Furby. They were really ahead of their time. Yes, they were the devil, too. But they were ahead of their time.
Ha. Police, you won't be talking it? What the...
There's your point. It's the devil. Alright, what's next? Man, I have to win this time. I've done this game with my dog. I've done that with Barack a lot. Alright, cause of flooding. I'm kind of surprised the cat is just laying there. Like, don't cats normally hate water? Yeah. Cats are the most button-bothered creatures.
Turns out AI is taking CEOs' jobs, but not for the reason you would think. Data identification, management, and orchestration are some of the things that
I've actually been saying for a long time. Everyone's talking about how AI is going to replace jobs, and I said the most replaceable people when it comes to AI is management and executives. Yeah. Probably enough oil to... enough... Mine will sit in the bathroom sink and won't care if the tap runs slowly with laminar flow.
LLMs exceed at, and that's additionally a lot of what makes a CEO allegedly valuable to their companies. They can identify what's going on in the business and make the strategic calls that will set them up for the best chance of success, which has led to a lot of people wanting to see the execs replaced instead of the mainline workers.
I've been calling for that for a while. I think that any company that is making the case that AI should replace their workers should make that argument in the totality of their entire workforce. And I don't just mean the people at the bottom. I mean all the way to the top. Replace your entire C-suite with AI. Maybe you actually end up saving money, saving positions. Maybe your board will thank you for it. Maybe we can replace the entire board with AI. Middle management, upper management, all of that. Workers deal with edge cases, C-suite deals with average cases. That's actually a good way to put it. Because, yeah, the executives barely know what goes on in the trenches, that they get lost in the miasma, lost in the sauce, that I think an AI might be able to see a more holistic view of employee complaints. Because the thing is, when like an executive gets reports of complaints by workers, it's generally not directly from the workers. It's workers reporting to HR and leadership and all that, and then it gets filtered up to the top. And most of the time, it gets lost. Pretty soon, the CEO will only be needed to sign the checks. As long as they get a giant pay cut.
And with the departure
HR could totally be automated at 95%. Oh yeah, HR is one of the most automatable tasks.
of the CEOs of Coca-Cola, Adobe, and Walmart, AI is thinning out the C-suite, but only because they can't adapt. In all these cases, they step down because they just aren't with the times and think that some fresh blood is needed to steer them into the AI future, at least according to their public.
Maybe they don't need blood. Maybe they need binary code to run their jobs in the form of AI.
Statements. Definitely not, at least in Adobe's case, years of mismanagement finally coming to a head with AI as an excuse to get
Adobe's been mismanaged for a while. Look at what they're going through right now and why people are having such a backlash.
rid of this guy. So not quite AI doing their job, but mostly it seems like people can't figure out how this whole thing really makes money, which means they're missing something, or it's not as revolutionary as everybody's proselytizing.
Yep. All right, what's next? Huge Steam system failure.
Steam to be banned in a country because Indonesia has something
Was it the Minecraft library?
called the Indonesian game rating system, which is supposed to protect consumers, especially children, from harmful content. This will become important later, and each game fits into one of 6 different categories. Games for 3-year-olds, which are non-violent, games for 7-year-olds, which can't have realistic violence, games for 13-year-olds, which can be online games, games for 15-year-olds, which can feature mature humor and realistic weapons, and for 18 and above, it's basically everything. But then there's also the banned category, which feature porn and real gambling, like CS2 cases. And this system was recently introduced onto Steam, ranking every game into one of these 6 categories, and it does not work at all. So we're going
And I hate to say that because our HR are very hot.
to play a
Well, you know, you can when they get taken over by AI, you can swoop in as their white knight. Just saying.
game now. I will tell you a game, and you guess what age
Which is a more dangerous platform, Roblox or War Thunder? Roblox, I'd have to say.
rating it.
There's a book I like called Bullshit Jobs that argues over half of societal work is pointless because people are incentivized to pretend their jobs aren't useless. You know what? I can actually agree with that.
Got Nukitashi, a literal...
I don't know about half, but yeah.
You guessed it, 3-year-olds. How about Black Souls, a game known for being pretty fucked up in a lot of aspects? Yeah, it's for 13-year-olds.
Wait, what?
Expedition 33, banned. Furry feet...
Wait, what? Expedition 33 is banned. Why?
Game literally describing itself with sexual content and hentai, of course, for 3-year-olds.
What the fuck? What? You ban Expedition 33, but you allow furry feet games as games for 3-year-olds. Jesus.
How about Story of Seasons, a cozy farming game with no violence, 18 plus.
What the?
Call of Duty, a game with a lot of real guns and a lot of violence, of course, for 3-year-olds.
Whoever's rating these games is on frickin' drugs, okay? I'm just gonna come out and say it.
Diablo 4 for 3-year-olds, Subnautica 2 for 18 plus, Geometry Dash 18 plus, GTA 5 18 plus, GTA San
Okay, the GTA 5, I agree with that one.
Andreas for 3-year-olds?
Wait, what? Get Grand Theft Auto 5 18 plus, but then like drop it to 3 plus for Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
This system does not fucking work at all. Mind you, these ratings come from the Indonesian government or Valve. Now, it is important to mention that that site also claims that the ratings are based off what the companies behind the games submitted, but I have a hard time believing that Call of Duty would end up as recommended for 3-year-olds in that scenario. Well, actually, Activision is greedy. They would probably do that. And
Yeah, they probably would. It's Microsoft now.
Issues like, for example, adult games being recommended to children. More importantly, if this issue isn't fixed soon, the Indonesian government may block Steam altogether from the country. That's not good.
Jesus.
Thanks for the ride, man. Appreciate it.
What the?
I got model on my dash. Crackers in
I was gonna say it sounds like a skit. Like, no Uber driver does that.
crusty looking cup holders, man, it's getting bad. Yeah, you're gonna want to suck it up. With what? The car wash will hook you up. Everybody now.
Is this an ad for a wash? I can't hate them. So, what's Leisure Suit Larry 3? Oh, absolutely, you know.
When you're in a Dollar Tree and there is absolutely no workers here.
I ain't been in a Dollar Tree or a dollar store in like a minute, but I've been hearing shit.
None. The whole store is open. No workers. And then you have a customer that has figured out how to get into the register, and a customer is actually ringing customers up.
Wait, what? A customer was able to access the POS system to be able to ring people up. Holy crap, that's a security issue. I'm not hating that person at all. Because, I mean, if given the opportunity, I'd probably go behind there and try to mess with him myself. But, yeah, these dollar stores, Dollar Tree, all of that are so effed. I had an ex-girlfriend that worked at Dollar General. Holy shit, that place was effed.
Yep. You can't make this shit up.
What happened to my webcam? What do you mean, what happened to my webcam? Did something happen to the webcam? Ah! That's a good question. What the hell happened to my webcam? Hold up. The hell happened? It rearranged itself. Hold up. Vertical scenes. The shit happened? Yeah, like all the text is... Okay, hold on. And then... There we go. What the shit happened there? That's weird. That's suspicious. Okay. I have no idea how that happened.
Can't make this up.
I don't see any teeth.
Tell the Lessers to come to Twitch where we only have 5 minutes of ads per break and they're all the same.
Customer Bringing up customers. Unbelievable.
She better get a raise.
Dollar Tree, Signal Mountain. Yeah. Not one employee in this store. Not one. Tons of customers, no employees.
You know what's even worse about these dollar stores and Dollar Trees and all that? Like, all just dollar stores in general? They're basically designed to keep poor people poor. Hear me out. On the surface, you might say, hey, it costs less money for these individual items. Compare the sizing of a lot of those items. And then when you look at how much they're spending on those items, they may per dollar a transaction be spending less, but in the totality of it, they're spending more. It's the unfortunate thing is when it comes to the, being in poverty, you have the poverty tax. I've seen it when a couple of my best friends were going through things. One of them was going through divorce. I gave them my extra Costco membership because you can have 2 slots. And he couldn't believe how much money he was spending on toilet paper at the dollar store versus what he was doing at Costco. And it's one of those things, like, the more money you make, the less expensive things come. Like, for example, when we were talking earlier about the, wealthy people buy for quality, you can buy boots for like $30, $40, but they're going to wear out. Maybe in like 3, 6, 9 months, but you can also buy boots for $200. That will last you many years. And you'll end up buying more of the cheap boots than you would have spent on the good pair of boots in the same amount of time. It's one of those unfortunate things that you learn over time.
Oh, wait, a worker just came in.
No, I've been here.
The worker just came in. No, I've been here. Sure. Printer ink conspiracy.
A bunch of garbage. Alright, this is my old one. It said there was 0 ink left in it. This is the new one that just showed up. I took it out of the bag, and now watch this. Here's the old one. 34 grams.
Right.
Here's the new one. 37 grams. Are you telling me there's only 3 grams of ink in this for $76? Come on.
Yeah, that tracks. But yeah, ink is outrageously expensive because they got you by the balls, which is why I'm a big fan of that open source 2D printer that we saw. The open printer, I really want that.
Literally cannot think of a better example of illusion of choice than your privacy choices. Do not sell or share my personal data. Do you hear that? I'm clicking.
Okay, that genuinely sounds like there's a bug on their website. I don't know if that's intentional, because there is CCPA that they do have to abide by, and that sounds like there's just an issue with the website itself.
I have no option. Illusion of choice.
Don't get me wrong, Intuit sucks. They do. I moved away from Intuit to Free Tax USA because Intuit wants like $200 or so. I forget what the exact amount of money is for filing my federal and state taxes. The problem is that that's too much money. Free Tax USA was like $60, but in all honesty, it shouldn't cost us anything. They need to simplify the tax system. But they purposely complicate it because tax preparers lobby for this business to exist that shouldn't even exist to begin with. You finished your taxes in time. I did my taxes like beginning of February, late January, somewhere around there. Hell, I had to give one of my moderators a 1099 before everything because they made just above the reporting threshold. I had to figure that out. That was a little bit tough because, you know, you have to get that to them by the 31st of January, I think. Chief, when he tells people to join Linux. What is this? Darth, Sidious?
Come to the dark side. We have cookies.
Y'all, you've heard me say this all the time. Come to the dark side. We have fresh-baked cookies, moonshine, and red lightsabers. You know, come to the dark side. We have fresh-baked cookies, open-source red lightsabers, and moonshine. That's what I've been saying.
Good. Come to the dark side.
Alright, let's see. Okay. What's this here? The free market lie why Switzerland has 25 gigabit internet and America doesn't. You may have heard about 25 gigabit symmetrical internet in Switzerland. This is often cited as the fastest dedicated non-shared residential connection in the world. However, did you ever wonder why Switzerland has fast internet at a reasonable price while the United States and other countries like Switzerland's neighbor Germany are falling behind? Take a look. Okay. Well, the honest truth is, there's not really a free market at the surface level when you even look at the United States. It's a mixed market economy. But even worse, when you look at the internet situation, it's hampered by regulations that overwhelmingly favor the big ISPs. They get subsidies and, you know, all these different things to expand the networks, but they end up pocketing that money and barely doing shit with it. And the FCC and other companies do not want agencies do not want to hold them to task. So yeah, we definitely have a problem there. Economy is going to natural monopoly. Natural monopoly in the industry is where the cost. Okay, they did the opposite. But yeah, all right. Let's see. Switzerland is a highly regulated telecom sector with strong oversight and government-backed infrastructure projects, but regulations in Switzerland differ from those in Germany. So why is it that the country that worships free market producing stagnation? Well, yeah, it's because we basically created not monopolies, not duopolies, but oligopolies. Yeah, they got territorial monopolies and in some places paid for by the federal government. Yeah, this is basically what I've been saying. The Swiss model, Swiss peer-to-peer fiber network architecture. I do think that we need to improve things overall. But yeah, the US system is really bad. Like, think about it. I'm in a house that I still can only get 1 gigabit download and 35 megabit upload. Think about that. But I think with that being said, it is getting late. It is almost 11 o'clock. I did not realize the time right now. I'll probably be back on stream tomorrow. Tonight we were mostly futzing with the Mesh-tastic device here. I'm gonna give this a week or so to test out and expect there to be content on this guy too in due time. But yeah, I like this a lot more than this guy over here. The T-Echo Plus. It's a lot heftier. I mean, it's not that much heavier, but it's got this carabiner in there. It's definitely designed for a little bit more rugged of a use case. The battery in here should last about a week, so we'll see how this works, and I'll keep y'all updated on that. But Yeah.
Kick ass. I can save money now and everyone can eat.
Getting money in the daytime, even kinda when I sleep. Wake up to getting bread, bitch, I do this for the streets. ADHD. I don't know why it cut out, but somebody just gave me 10 gifted subs, and it just says from a mystery person. So 10 of y'all just got a gifted sub, and you should thank them. So, thank you for that, whoever you are. We appreciate it. Happy hacking. Great way to end the stream. I am going to be, hopping off. I do have work tomorrow. Luckily, I'm working from home tomorrow, but I do intend to stream tomorrow. Sunday is the next official day that we have on the schedule, though, for streaming, just in case I don't make it tomorrow, because Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday are the days we officially stream. Sunday, of course, is gaming on Linux. We will be continuing with Red Dead Redemption 2. So, yeah, we got the capture card, I think, all figured out. So now we've got video going in at 1440p, being broadcast at 1080p. I'm taking incremental steps to plan for when I get symmetrical bandwidth. So we will eventually be planning for Twitch, Kick, and YouTube to be at 1440p. The camera here is capable of 4K 30, so I'm going to be doing some tweaks soon to get that video put out at 4K 30, and then eventually down the road, I plan to get a better capture card to, consolidate everything, and then we will get a even better camera, the slightly better version of this Sony ZV-E10. They have the Alpha ZV-E10 Mark II, which, this is a great camera, don't get me wrong, but the new one allows for 4K 60, and I can do some stuff with this camera still, because I will have an extra HDMI port for capturing when I do get the new capture card. So there may be the possibility that I could set up something in the ham shack over there for us to do some radio projects and things like that. But with that being said, thank you all for joining me. Stick around for the raid if you're on Twitch. I love you all. Stay safe. Happy hacking. Make sure to follow me on all the socials. If you don't see them in the chat, make sure to check them in the links in bio. YouTube, Twitch, Kick, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, Mastodon, and of course, the Discord and Matrix servers. We have a great community on both places over there. We have tons of people, all sorts of levels of knowledge and expertise. You're more than welcome. Stay safe. Love you all. Happy hacking. Should be on tomorrow. See you. Should be on later. Stick around for the raid. I muted my mic in the last second. All right, see ya!